Hello and welcome to the Unnamed Podcast's set review. Name incoming by the time this video is uploaded. We will have a name.
Deece Plus Podcast.
And what we're going to do is we're going to be breaking down every card in Guilds of Ravnica by collector's number. So we're going to be starting with white, going all the way through. Each video is going to have its own color. Each color is going to have its own video. I probably should have wrote a script for this intro. Instead, I'm just winging it, as I often do, because, I mean, who has a plan in this world? Definitely not me.
Professionals.
Professionals, for sure. I guess we should introduce ourselves. I'm William, aka WLSack. I stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/WLSack. I play Magic typically, sometimes variety games such as Dream Daddy. My crowning Magic accomplishment is I once came in second at a Magic pre-release. So clearly I am qualified to do this. Who wants to go next?
Alright, I guess I'll go next.
Sure.
My name is Ian Klein, and I've been playing Magic for like a little over a year now, at least competitively. I've gotten multiple top 32s at SCG events. I've won top 16. Nothing more really besides that. Recently got 43rd at a PTQ on Magic Online, so that felt horrible because I didn't even get my money back. But whatever. So yeah, just a guy who likes Magic. I stream sometimes, but it's really just so that these guys can tell me how bad I am and to coach me and make me better. And yeah, Magic's great.
And he is currently losing the trophy race in the Legacy queue on Magic Online to me by a whopping 1 trophy.
It's
Wow.
It's true.
Sick breaks.
Sick.
I am one up on the trophy race's trophy race.
That's true. That's true. Soon we're going to be tied 1-1.
The Pro Tour cube was all me.
That's true. You were pretty dominant on the Pro Tour cube. Mono Green Cruel Ultimatum was the deck to beat.
Easy game.
Hi, I'm Tyler. I see you when you stream as my username says. I usually yell to people about how to play Magic. Also, Will Sack, you should definitely dub over in the intro like really poorly what the podcast name is going to be.
That's brilliant.
For
yeah.
The unknown, just like a really dub over it.
Right. Just like classic Godzilla-esque tier, like dubbing.
Yeah.
No. You should use text to speech.
Yeah, that would actually even be better. Yeah,
Okay, I can
just like that.
very easily do that. That should take no time at all. I love it.
Perfect.
All right, so we have our plan. All right, who are you, other guy?
I'm Aaron, or AKA Pay the Toll. I've been playing Magic since 1996, and my neighbors crushed me with their mono green stompy decks.
Do they have
And
Cruel
my
Ultimatum
best-
in it?
No.
Was
it
your
way
neighbor
before
Danny
Cruel
Trejo?
Ultimated too. Oh,
Was Danny Trejo your neighbor?
He did remind me a bit of Danny Trejo, so.
Because I heard Danny
but-
Trejo loves Mono Green Stompy, according to a video I watched today.
Yeah.
Did you get a Gigantosaurus on turn 3?
Yeah, do you know how to do that?
Brutal.
Danny Trejo taught me.
They played the 6 mana 6/5 regenerate guy instead. That guy was a
it's-
beating back in the day. But
Silverback Ape or something like that?
Silverback Ape, I think that's it.
Yeah.
That
No, I
sounds
think it was
familiar.
Ancient Silverback.
Ancient Silverback.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
that sounds more correct.
Yeah.
I was
So-
2.
Crowning achievement in Magic, multiple game day wins.
Ooh.
Boom, got there.
Do you
Wow.
still have the playmats?
Oh yes. I gave one of them away, but I have the rest.
Oh, nice. So you have the
stack
one
'em up.
left.
I stack them up.
Right, multiple
Oh,
ones
right.
too.
Quickly as
I
possible.
forgot about one of my other achievements. I got 9th at a GP PTQ on Breakers, so that was great.
Yeah, that was very, very close. I mean,
Yeah.
I was super happy about that.
yeah. Seems good. We are going to be number rating all of these cards. So the general idea, we're going to rate it from 1 to 4, and the idea is that 1s are probably most likely not playable. You want to avoid them if possible. It'll be your draft chaff. It'll be your 23rd card. You'll begrudgingly run it. 2 will be some play. It'll be, maybe a fringe sideboard card like a Naturalize or a Plummet that you may not main deck and draft. Or, it may be specifically good in a deck that might not exist yet, but with upcoming sets, the card has potential. It has potential to be good, but at the moment, it's probably not there. 3 is going to be playable. It'll be playable in some type of format, and we'll tell you guys what format we think it's going to be good in. Standard, modern, maybe Legacy. Some of us dabble in Legacy. Canadian Highlander we dabble in a little bit as well. And then 4 is going to be your best of your best. They are going to be your limited bombs. They're going to be your constructed playables. They are going to be some of the best cards in the set. So I guess we'll start with good old Blade Instructor. Its cost is 2 generic, 1 white for a human soldier. It is a 3/1, and its text simply reads Mentor. And what Mentor does, for you folks playing at home, it says whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power. Very notably, Ian, if the creature is not attacking, you cannot put the +1/+1 counter on it.
Listen, man, I thought it was similar to Bolster at first, alright? I'm sorry.
It's okay, it only clearly states on a target attacking creature, but it's fine.
We should kind of go in depth on Mentor and this card, and then we can kind of just refer back on other Mentor cards.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I actually think Mentor's pretty strong for a limited mechanic. I think it's definitely more than average. So I think this being a 3/1 for 3, even though the body is kind of small, is pretty good. Just because there's a decent amount of we could have flyers and stuff and get things on evasion that if this trades off and makes you 1/1 flyer, 2/2 flyer, whatever, a 3/3, that's actively very good. You just cast a removal spell that also pumped your evasive guy. I think that Mentor is pretty strong.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Mentor is a really strong limited mechanic. It is nice that this card has 3 power so that it can go on a 2-power creature, which is relevant. There's a lot of 2-power white creatures, so this being able to pump them up is nice. I'm a little weary that having 1 toughness might be a downside to this card. I'm not really 100% positive on the numbers of cards that are 1/4s or something like that, or just 1/1s in general, or ways to deal with 1 toughness, but that would be a way to make this card not be as high of a pick. This obviously you're not going to pack one pick this one, but it's just a playable, I think.
Something
There's
that
a
you
few red cards.
something also
There's
that
a few
you
red cards of thing.
something that you mentioned that I just wanted to note on. Even if if you somehow make this survive combat, etc. It doesn't have to mentor onto exactly a 2-power creature. You can put it on a 1/1, and then if it attacks again, you can upgrade that now 2/2 to a 3/3. So that's another reason why this card's pretty powerful. And you'll see later on there's some pretty neat 1-power flyers that Mentor pairs really well with. But yeah, I definitely agree. It's not first pickable. It is a common. I feel because there are decent amount of commons in this set. I feel you'll be able to table 1 or 2 of these, and if you're in a Mentor style deck, you could probably pick up the 1 to 2 that this deck would probably want.
Yeah, I don't think that you can really play this card outside of the Boros deck either.
I think you're going to play it in Selesnya.
I think
in Selesnya, making tokens and stuff.
What were you saying, Aaron?
Definitely tokens will get this will see play, just because anytime you make your tokens that trade up, this card gains a lot of value.
Yeah, I'm just worried that there's just better green 3-drops, but it could be playable. I mean, I said, it's just a playable. I think it fills your curve, and it's not something that you're actively seeking unless you really want a lot of Mentor cards. It also is weird. One of the things that mentor that I noticed is actually odd is that the more you mentor your creatures, the less effective mentor is. So there's eventually a cap on mentor, right?
Right.
Yeah, unless you just keep playing more mentor creatures, which I was going to say. Like, this card's good with other mentor creatures.
Right. I also don't know if they released how mentor works when you have multiple mentor cards. If it's on resolution or if it's when you target.
It checks both.
Yeah. So it checks on target and resolution. So you can't actually legally target anything, with higher or equal power. And then if it somehow changes during combat on the resolution of the trigger, the mentor trigger will essentially fizzle, and you will not be able to mentor that +1 encounter onto it.
That's interesting. That's kind of annoying, actually, because I would like to have been able to have 2 mentor cards where, like, if a mentor that has 2 power and a mentor that has 3 power, so that you can mentor the 2 power one to make it a higher power, so that when that one resolves, it would also be able to go on a 2-drop or a 2-power creature. But you have to strictly do something that's
right. You have
lower.
To chain them in a very odd way. Or put +1 counters on.
Yeah, so you basically both have to then target the 1/1. So like if you have a 3/1, a 2/1, and a 1/1, and the 3/1 and the 2/1 both have mentor, the only targets for the 2/1 is the 1/1.
Yeah, and you'd have to stack your triggers in such a way that the 2/1 resolves first, so that way you actually pump up your 1/1 into a 3/3.
Wow. Okay. That's a little.
Yeah, it's gonna be annoying on Magic Online.
Yeah, I wonder how. Well, yeah, Magic Online, it's gonna be like very specific, but in paper, I hope that there isn't any like people that are like, oh no, you put it the wrong way. I'm sure it's easily explainable, but
right.
Yeah.
Some people are F&M heroes. You never know.
Right.
No, you'll be fine. I'm pretty sure. Like in paper, these things are generally like if you're allowed to do it and you kind of are like general with it, you don't have to be super specific. Like a judge I doubt a judge will overturn a ruling if you're like mentor both of these onto my 1/1. I doubt that like someone goes like, oh, you didn't stack it correctly. You'd be like, oh, I didn't stack it. I just assumed. Like the judge would be like, yeah, it's assumed.
That would also be how it works.
Yeah.
All right.
So this card's like a slightly lower than a 2, I think, in limited, and I think in constructed it's also like probably slightly lower than 2, like a sideboard card, maybe.
Okay. I've probably also got it there after hearing you guys' opinions on it.
I think that it's a 3 in both limited and constructed. I think that this card has a lot of potential. I think that the fact that it has vigilance makes the activation of it super scary because it's never going to tap to attack. So being able to just always hold up destroying a legendary permanent, obviously creature, artifact, or enchantment, I think that's really powerful. I love that you can buy it back with a Johnny, but I also have like an insatiable love for a Johnny, so I might be biased towards that. It might be specifically a sideboard card, but I'm definitely going to try to main deck this card in some of the decks that I want to make. And I love playing this and then playing Tajik, or whatever his name is, because I think that they just paired really well together.
Definitely. Aaron, you've got a number for us?
3 for both for me.
I'm at a 2.5, I think, for limited, and I think it's a probably 2, maybe lower for constructed. I guess if there became legendary permanents that were artifacts, creatures, or enchantments in modern, humans could sideboard this, but that could be ways down the road. So
yeah, I feel like humans just already has a better answer for it in like Reflector Mage, because they can just bounce your, well, again, it doesn't destroy artifacts or enchantments, but creatures, they can just bounce and then just swing and kill you.
I don't think there's really any thing. Is there any legendary artifacts or enchantments that are really played in modern?
No.
Mox Opal?
Well,
sure.
Yeah, Mox Opal is
I don't think that's really like a card. Like I don't think you want your 2-drop destroying.
Search for Kanta is starting to see more play.
I do like that it does hit the front side of Search Rise Kanta, and I think that is important, and that's one of the other reasons why I had it high in constructed. For specifically standard, though, I don't think it's like enough in modern for that to see play.
Another thing that should be mentioned is it has Vigilance, which is one of the keywords on Path to Metal, which like is an obvious Boros card going forward.
Right.
But like, there's a lot of cards that like go with Path to Metal in this set, and I think that like I don't know if this one makes the cut. Like there's a lot. But that is something that I think we should bring up is like these aggressively costed cards. If they go well with Path of Metal, it should be mentioned.
Oh yeah, I definitely have on some of my notes. Some like, this is cool with Path of Metal, because I think that's going to be a good card. All right, ready to move on to the next card?
Yeah.
All right, Candlelight Vigil, 3 generic and a white for a enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +3/+2 and has vigilance.
Limited.
Vigilance for Path of Metal.
Sure. Wow.
Flip your Path of Metal. Get him.
Yeah, you can get them that way. It's strictly for limited, to be honest. I don't see this having really any constructed applications whatsoever. Probably not super...
stinks.
Yeah, I don't even think it's playable in limited. I really don't like auras in limited unless they're just insane. I just opens you up for 2-for-1s. I don't think this is playable.
You're gonna go to your pre-release and someone's gonna have that 6/6 hexproof guy and put this on it and just like kill you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, okay. Now I will.
No, you can't. You have to pay 2 extra. You can't play non-creature.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, no, but you play this on play the guy in 4 and then on turn 6 you get him.
Yeah. Sure. So
no, because you're just gonna undo your hexproof, and then you're gonna get wrecked by a counterspell, or
you play from the tap out. You're fine.
Don't sure. Let's put this crazy scenario out, and then this card can see play.
Okay. Asterisk. In limited, if you have a high density of hexproof creatures somehow, sure, put a Candlelight Vigil on it. Otherwise,
I have 1.5.
1.5.
I have it as a 0.
I also have it as a 0.
The only 4-mana auras that see play give lifelink or flying, and this gives neither of those things.
I think that Mentor does give this card a little bit of a boost, though.
It's just seal soap. It's 4 mana.
I think that the only way that this sees play is if you really, 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 really want the vigilance part. I don't think that the buff is really the reason that you would play it in limited. So I'm gonna give it a 1. I'm gonna give it a 1 to everything. This could be a 23rd card in your sealed deck. It's about
0. I'm giving it 0. I'm not gonna play this card.
I also gave it a 0. I will be very upset at myself if my draft or limited pool has gotten to the point where I'm considering this.
1.5 in limited. I don't know if I specified that.
Gotcha. Yeah. I would imagine that you had enough sense not to rate it that highly in constructed. All right, here's one I feel like we'll rate a little bit higher. Citywide Bust. 1 white for a sorcery. Destroy all creatures with toughness 4 or greater.
I love this card.
Yeah, it's one of the cleanest designed wraths that we've seen in a while. It's great that it can sometimes be a one-sided wrath if you've constructed your deck with a lot of low toughness creatures, and your opponent has a lot of high toughness creatures. Selective wraths like this, especially at 3 mana, are pretty good.
You know what this card's for, right? This is a seed because they thought the Bant Butt Dragon was gonna be too good.
Oh yeah, definitely. Actually, there are some cards later on that I have, and I've got some theories about the next set. Maybe what a Simic or Azorius.
In case the Doran Dragon gets out of hand, this card is there to keep it in check.
Its name is Arcades. If you're going to talk about it, please refer to it as its given name.
Our Lord
I didn't even remember
Arcades.
its name, to be honest. I didn't remember that his name was Arcadis. I knew it does, but I don't remember the name.
I think that this.
Go ahead.
I think this card is just a comparable to Dusk Dawn. Obviously, it doesn't have the Dawn side, but you just get reduced the mana cost from 4 to 3. So I think it's just comparable to a Dusk effect, which has always been a very nice sideboard card and constructed.
Definitely.
I do think that you can make this though. I think that if blue-white wants to really hedge bets against, or any control deck that plays white want to hedge bets against mono green Stompy, which is definitely going to be a deck, I think this card is amazing against them. The fact that it just kills all of the Steel Leaf champions and Galtas, and this also kills Brontodons and stuff like that too. If they tap out for a Brontodon, is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Going further is also kills things like Nicol Bolas, kills Aurelia, kills Golgari Finebroker. It kills the format looks. It's hard to say right now, but it looks like it's getting a little bigger. So this card
yeah, I think 4 toughness is actually where a lot of the good creatures line up. which
Definitely.
is
Where you look at-
interesting
yeah.
because it makes you think that red is not going to be that great, which means that red might not be towards like it might not be like a red black kind of deck where it was like I'm gonna remove your guy and then I'm gonna hit you, like I'm gonna play a hasty threat, then I'm gonna kill your guys until like my hasty threat just kills you, and less board control and more probably burnish in my eyes, and then like a Boros like aggro deck could also play this, which I think is really really cool to be able to stem bleeding from like the other decks that have bigger toughness, because they don't have really a way to deal with the 4 toughness besides the new like lava coil card, which is a nice card, but at the same time I do like that this you can play like phoenixes and you can use this card and your phoenixes don't die.
That is nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So yeah, I think this is gonna see, like, if Boros is a real deck, I definitely could see this being a big sideboard card for them, or maybe even main deckable.
So I think this card's like good and constructed, right? And it's like probably a sideboard, probably most likely a sideboard card. The meta would have to kind of be a little extreme for you to start main decking this, or like you really want to hedge. But I think in general it could be like a decent sideboard card. I don't think I would play it in my sideboard like week 1, but like if week 1 I see like a bunch of Grain Stompy, right, and like a bunch of like
It's just good against the Golgari decks though too. Yeah. I mean, unless the Golgari decks are strictly like the aristocrat style.
Yeah, but in limited, I always am a fan of playing these cards in the main deck in limited if you have them.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because you can always just slide them out if they're blanks.
But yeah, yeah, exactly what Ian said. It's just they're very swingy. Like if you can ever set up a thing where you just kill 2 of their guys and like 2 of their biggest guys, and like you hold 2 of your big guys with this card because you know you have it and they don't because it's a rare. Like,
well, it's pretty nuts with like the 3 ones, right? Like if you have a bunch of like 3 power dudes that like obviously they're gonna have low toughness. Like it's gonna be really nice in those decks.
Yeah. The art's also
I
pretty
think
good.
I would rate it like a 3.5 in limited and like almost a 3 in constructed. I think I'm just gonna lean towards a 3 in constructed because I could see that. I could see like a white control deck just main decking this.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I am.
Yeah, I'm gonna go like 2.5 for constructed because I think it's like more of a sideboard card. In limited, I also think it's kind of like a 2.5. I don't think I'm gonna first pick this card. Like I think that this card, I'm not gonna be excited to first pick this card. Because I think there are going to be matchups where it's not good, right? Like there are going to be draft decks that this like doesn't really kill anything, or maybe it kills like 1 or 2 things. So I'm not going to be like thrilled to first pick this. I will if I have to, but I'm not going to look forward to first picking this card.
I've got it at 2.75 probably unlimited.
Ooh.
I feel like it's probably like 4th to 5th pick at the lowest, but you never first pick this probably. And in constructed, I think it's probably like a 2.5. I feel like it'll be sideboarded often, and if the format devolves to the point that it is a mono green stompy format, I feel like it could rise to a 3.5, at least a 3. So
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like Tyler was saying, the art is clearly just awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, sweet art.
And here
it's also
the...
cool because it's the after of the next card.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So if we go down to the next card, Color the Culprit, it is that same character. So Color the Culprit is 3 and a white for an instant, and it just says, and it's a common, destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater.
It's strictly worse than the card that we saw beforehand.
Sure.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I think this is a limited card through and through. We name dropped a couple of cards that we're going to be talking about later that are going to be, kind of board stally creatures, high toughness, lower power, and this card just is a very clean answer to 2 types of cards like that in limited.
Yeah, this card.
Smite the Monstrous Power.
Power, yep. Is it 3 mana though?
No, it's 4 mana.
Yeah.
So this is just like flipped Smite the Monstrous, right?
Right. Yeah. It just cares about the other half of the power toughness box.
Okay.
I mean, I think that this is like an easy 3 in limited. I think it's just like I if there's nothing good in the pack and this is like the best removal spell, like I'm gonna take this.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
think that
way
this
to
card's
go into white and to deal with some of the green cards that you might have trouble with in draft and limited or in sealed.
Yeah.
I
So
think this
kind of
card's worse than Smite the Monstrous, actually. I think there's a lot more high power creatures than high toughness creatures. Like there's a lot more like 4/2s than there are 2/4s, and like 4/2s are generally like better than 2/4s.
I think the actual
I
power and toughness don't matter in terms of like the green cards, which I think is what the Boros deck is going to have the biggest trouble beating.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're kind of good against them because you just like play one thing, right, and they get to like if they have any removal spell.
I think
like,
the red
just
deck's
even
going to
that
have
removal spell.
the red deck needs to have this card to remove the green cards. That's the thing. Like they have a hard time, I think, removing them, and then if they just like play a 3/4, like playing a Fine Broker is pretty nuts. Also, just playing like any of the 4 toughness cards that are in green, I feel like is pretty good against them.
Yeah, but this is also a card that doesn't do anything, kind of rots in your hand in Boros sometimes, which is like, ugh. I think this card's like similar, like power level to Citywide Bust, the card we talked about previously.
Mm-hmm.
It's like better in some ways because like you can play out your 4 toughness guys, just like kill theirs
Right.
and attack with your bigger guys. But it's worse because it's like less like high impact swingy. So I'm gonna rate it around the same of like around like a 2.5.
Yeah, that's kind of also where I had it as 2.5. It's really great in a sideboard if your opponent just plays something with 4 toughness or higher that you just can't deal with. And 4 mana for a kill spell is pretty decent for limited.
It's great for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
there
disagree with that.
I have the same numbers on it. 2.5 for limited.
You had 2.5. Okay.
You're
Obviously,
never gonna see
you're
play in
constructed,
constructed.
Yeah.
It's just better stuff at better rates.
Yep. So are you ready for Conclave Tribunal? 3 and a white for an enchantment. It has Convoke, which means your creatures can help cast the spell. Each creature you tap while casting the spell for 1 or more mana. This spell pays for 1 or 1 mana of that creature's color. So if you are completely tapped out and you have 3 random creatures and a white creature, you can just tap all 4 of those creatures and play this card, and the effect is when Conclave Tribunal enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls until Conclave Tribunal leaves the battlefield. Also, just for clarification, you don't have to pay with 4 creatures. You can mix it up. You can, tap 2 lands, mana producers, and 2 creatures, and you guys can extrapolate from there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is the first Convoke card, right? We've seen.
Yeah, we should do a little deep dive in Convoke, I think.
Yeah. So Convoke is a cost-reducing mechanic. As much as you need resources to pay for the mana, because you need creatures and lands, it does. You can pay less actual. You can tap less actual lands for a spell cost. So anytime there's a cost reducer, it's obviously good.
It helps you double
Convoke is
spell.
good. Yes, exactly. It helps, and this card's also just this effect. If it didn't have Convoke on it, it would be like a 3, maybe even a 3.5. And I think with Convoke, it's I'm gonna first pick this card a lot.
Oh yeah, me too.
Unless it's a bomb, this card's a first pick and limited. But I want to talk about it in constructed more because I think this card's a big.
I
hit
do
in
want to
constructed
also
as
note
well.
that it's an uncommon for limited, which means that you can have multiple of these in your deck easily,
Yeah.
which is pretty
Kinda
nutty.
gross.
This is a reason to draft white, I think.
Or even a
Like
reason
you said,
to
I would-
splash white.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, even a splash white. I agree, but
Yeah,
I mean,
this card is very
I think that you
splashable.
would easily first pick this card though too. Easy first pick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
But
for
in
clarification, do hybrid mana count as white and red?
Yes.
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 Okay.
If the kitchen thinks it's hybrid green white, it can tap for green or white.
Yeah,
for
so you would
Convoke.
be able to get the
Convoke,
white
yeah.
pip with that, which I also
Yeah.
think is another really cool part of Convoke, is that you
Yes.
don't need the actual mana cost,
Mhm.
or the mana type.
Yeah, you don't need the planes in play to cast this technically. Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing that's interesting, and Ian touched on it a little bit, but because Convoke hasn't been in standard for quite a while, I just want to touch on this. Your creatures can be summoning sick and still, help pay the Convoke cost. Even though they are kind of helping you cheat on mana, it doesn't straight up turn them into like a mana dork, like a Llanowar elf. So like Ian was saying, you can double spell, so you can cast your 2/2 for 2, and then use that 2 for 2 that you just played to help play the Conclave Tribunal.
Yeah, this is one of the big Convoke players in the set for Constructed as well. And we're gonna talk about Amara later on, as like one of the big payoffs for Convoke in Constructed. But yeah, this is just like on turn like 3 or whatever. If you just like play a card that gives you like 2 guys and you have 2 guys already, you can just tap all 4 to get rid of like their 3-drop, and then like you've cleared their board and like filled your board on like an early turn of the game.
Right.
And I think it's kind of what's like these green white aggro decks are going to want to be doing.
Yeah, I also would like to note that it's really good with vigilant creatures too. So all of the vigilant knights can attack, and then post combat you can use this enchantment to like get rid of something. So you can like attack face with a bunch of vigilant dudes, and then like post combat in your second main tap them to convoke this and like get rid of some enchantment or artifact that's like just annoying.
We've also said this word multiple times in the discussion of this card, and I just want to bring up the fact that it is an enchantment. So if you have a Satyr Enchantress out, you get to draw a card when you play it.
Yeah.
So,
which me and William love. Love the Enchantress green-white card. We're definitely going to try to make that work in Standard.
It can also help tap for this.
That's true.
It can.
Yeah.
It can.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of cool because you can, if you have enough creatures out, you can play the Enchantress and then like convoke and play this card. So it's actually, it can be a 0-cost enchantment in order to draw a card that turn that you play the Enchantress, so that you're like getting some value, which I think is actually super important for that kind of deck, because we didn't have any way to like play it on 3 and then also have enough stuff to be able to, or like there was no way to like play the Enchantress on 3 and draw a card with an enchantment.
Right.
So that's kind of cool.
And this
I just want the record to show I'm not as enthusiastic about the Enchantress, but I do like it.
Yeah, so I don't know if the Enchantress is necessarily good or great, but it's a pet card of Ian and I's, and we're going to try to make it work as long
if
as
it
it is in the
consistently
standard.
draws 3 cards, it can't be that bad, right?
Right, yeah.
Dude, it's just Ancestral Recall.
Right. It's just a 3-mana Ancestral Recall. I mean, how can you beat that?
With this card and Amara.
Sure.
So when you tap Amara to convoke this, you don't immediately get the next card, right? So you can't like convoke Amara and then get the guy and then convoke that.
No. Tapping is paying the cost to even put it on the stack. So what it is you're declaring that you're casting it. You tap all the creatures, and then the Amara trigger would go on the stack.
So after the Conclave Tribunal card goes on the stack, then the Amara trigger would actually go on the stack. You would get the 1/1 before you would exile whatever you're exiling with this card.
Yeah, you get the 1/1 before Conclave Travel comes in.
Right.
We can talk more about it. No, you can't use it. We'll talk a lot about Amara timing and stuff when we get to Amara, but like, it's the token comes in beforehand, but you can't tap the token you got to pay for the convoke spell that you used to tap Amara in the first place.
Right.
Cool. Yeah, this card's great. I think I'm going to rate this as a 4 in Constructed and 4 in Limited.
That is exactly where I had it on my notes.
This is for sure as high as you can rate it in Limited, and like it looks like a card that's going to be like a staple in Standard as well. Like these O-ring effects like cast out and stuff are always staples, and this seems to be the latest line.
Yeah, I mean it does fight with like Ixalan's Binding, but I think that Ixalan's Binding is actually more of a sideboard card, and this is more of a main deck card, if that's relevant.
Yeah, this card's much better in like main decks than Ixalan's Binding.
Right. And it's interesting to note, or important to note, that Cast Out is rotating. So if you have a deck that was using Cast Out and don't really care about the instant speed ability, this card is kind of a easy replacement, if you will, for it. I used air quotes for you guys who couldn't see me.
Yeah, I just want to live the dream and play like History of Benalia in this card in the same deck, which is like just everything I want.
I mean, it's like not that far away of a dream. It's like a pretty realistic dream.
Yeah. Also,
easy curve out.
History of Benalia and Enchantment.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that! Look at that! I love it when a plan comes together.
I know, right? Oh, so good.
I'm ready for the next one.
Yeah, Aaron, any numbers or thoughts?
Yeah, it's a 4 and I think a 3.5 for constructed. I feel like it'll be on that tweener spot of if there is a need for it in the format that it'll be found. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, Crush Contraband. Is this the same guy that was in those other 2 cards?
I don't think so.
No, I think this is different.
No,
But
his hat is different, or his
So-
mask.
Okay, yeah,
Actually-
his mask is definitely different. I just scrolled back up and checked. Yeah. So Crush Contraband is 3 and a white for an instant. It's an uncommon. Choose one or both. Exile target artifact or exile target enchantment.
Yeah, so I saw a thing on Twitter about people saying that this is going to replace an EDH card that sees play right now. I forget exactly what EDH card it was, but I think it does something similar.
There's a card. I know this card because it's seen play in Legacy. It's the split second one, and if you cast it as a sorcery, it gets 2 things. But if you cast it as an instant, it only gets 1.
Oh, I know exactly what that card's called too, or I know what we're talking about.
Return
It's
to
2 and a
Dust?
white.
It's
Yeah,
Return
Return
to
to
Dust,
Dust.
I'm
Yep,
pretty sure.
Return to
Yeah,
Dust.
Yeah. So people were saying that this could be a replacement for that, but I don't really know the other card. But I just wanted to point out that I saw someone on Twitter talking about that.
Yeah, the good thing
Yeah.
about Return to Dust is that it could hit 2 artifacts. Or
Right. So
2...
this only hits artifact and enchantment.
Right.
You can't hit 2 artifacts.
Right.
That's definitely relevant.
Return to Dust also at split second.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it
it's
essentially
important.
couldn't be countered.
Well, like other things too, like.
I do think
yeah,
that this
yeah,
card,
could
this
be
card,
responded to. Yeah.
I think that this card is like a 2.5 in limited, where like I think it's like a sideboard card in limited, but there is a
Yeah.
chance that you can main deck it. I don't know if like there's gonna be like an enchantment or artifact. There's definitely not a lot of artifacts in this set, but there's a good
There's
amount of
not.
enchantments. So
There's-
I think
there's
it's
not that
more of a
many.
sideboard card. So maybe just a 2 then, and then in constructed, I also think that this is a 2. I don't think that it's a sideboard card yet, but I do think that if in the future we see more artifacts and enchantments, that being able to blow up 2 of them or 1 of each could be relevant.
Right.
But there was a lot of artifacts that just got rotated out, so that's why I don't think that it's going to be specifically in the sideboard now, but it could be in the future.
Definitely.
So, yeah, for limited, this card's strictly a sideboard card. Like, there's not that many enchantments. There's a few. There's like definitely more enchantments than there are artifacts. But yeah, it's strictly a sideboard card. In constructed, I was going to say that like, oh, you'd never play like this card over Invoke the Divine, but it does exile, which is kind of interesting.
Right, because we just lost the
Like-
cycling one from Amonkhet.
Yeah, we just lost Forsake the Worldly, and I think Invoke the Divine's the best naturalized in white right now. I think.
Yeah.
There's like I know there's like Demystify, and if you're like in green white, well, if you're in green, you just have a million answers. But
Yeah.
We
I don't
lost
know.
the best
4
one,
mana seems like a
Fragmentized.
lot. That one's rotating, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just
4
lost
mana is a lot, but it is an instant. I know there's a couple that are like sorceries.
I think that this card will only maybe see play if like exile becomes very relevant.
Yeah,
Like,
like
I-
some of the scrap heap scouter type effect.
Yeah, but
wanna
not even
exile it.
not even that, because like I think at that point, like if it's a creature, if you can answer it some other way, like I'd rather answer some. This is 4 mana. It's so much.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I agree.
I need something really specific to play this card in constructed. But like it is an exile effect, so I'll keep in mind as an exile effect. But I'll probably just play Invoke the Divine.
I do want to say though that this gets really good if control decks, like blue control decks, end up playing like Searcher's Kanta and
Guild of Lotus.
Gilded Lotus. Yeah, like I think being able to hit a Searcher's Kanta and a Gilded Lotus is a reason to play this card. But that would just we have to wait and see how the constructed format turns out for us to really evaluate this at a better level.
I also have a hard time believing that someone's going to cast a Guild of Lotus before they flip their Searcher's Contact.
That's fair. I don't know,
Like,
man.
I'm pretty
You
sure
never
they're
know.
gonna flip their Search-
In limited, this is going to blow up my chromatic lantern that I'm going to first pick in every single draft, and then my whole mana base is just going to be ruined, and I'm just going to
Yeah.
O2 drop out of sorrow.
Oh yeah.
I can't
This
wait
is
for
great.
that exact scenario to happen
Oh,
because
yeah,
I
I'm-
know it's going to.
I'm calling it now. Hashtag called shots.
Oh yeah.
Shakal.
I think this will be
Get
a
it.
3 unlimited because I think that just the versatility of it will allow it to be played in the main deck as like a 23rd, 22nd card.
Really?
constructed. Yeah, like I mean, if you look at historical formats where there was good enchantments, like if we're looking at the other side of the
It's a
screen,
4-mana naturalize, though.
but the versatility of it is just what allows it to be able to be played. Like
I
fact-
agree.
Yeah.
I've never main decked a naturalize, I don't think.
It is also really cool
Well,
that
I haven't Kaladesh, but like...
I did in whatchamacallit, in Dominaria I did, because there's a lot of enchantments in Dominaria. Also, I think that there's also a lot of artifacts, but I also think that this card is nice in the fact that you can, like, if you have an enchantment out and you want to kill the artifact, you can just kill the artifact. Obviously, if it was just a naturalized, it would do the same thing, but it is note that the one or both is relevant.
And we'll see later on that the exile effect is pretty relevant because there are some cards later on that will allow you to rebuy some stuff from your graveyard.
Yeah, that is also true. I still think it's a 2.
Yeah, I'm still on a 2 on it, but I can definitely understand why you may want to play it as your 22nd, 23rd card.
Aaron, what would you rate it then? Like a 2.5, 3?
I'm at a 3
It's
on
a
it
3.
in limited, and then constructed. I think it's probably like a 2.
Okay.
Yeah, that's funny. I'm almost exactly the opposite on it. I've got it, probably about a 2 in limited, and then like Tyler was saying, if the exile effect becomes super relevant, the exile is pretty good, and it's a really good naturalize. Did you have a number for it, Tyler, or did I miss that part?
Whenever a sideboard card is.
Okay, gotcha.
2.
Yeah,
It was 2.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's fine.
it's just a sideboard card.
Yep. So here is Dawn of Hope. It is 1 and a white, and it's an enchantment. It's a rare. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. It also has an activated ability of 3 and a white to create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink.
All right, I want to start this off with this card. I just want to mention 4 words: Mastery of the Unseen.
Thank
If
you.
any of you around with
Thank
Fate Reforged, that card was one of the most busted, unbeatable cards in the entire set.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling this is going to match it, because anytime you have a card generating engine and a mana sink in the same card, it's just typically busted.
Right. Definitely.
To be fair, real quick, this makes 1/1s instead of 2/2s, and the 2/2s can flip them into bigger things, but I do mostly echo the sentiment of this card is very, very, very good in limited, and probably is, I assume is going to be one of my favorite cards to play in limited. Like, this card
Oh yeah.
is just all I want to do. Just, like, pay a bunch of mana into this thing, make some dudes, draw some cards. This is exactly what I want to be doing.
Yeah.
I think that you can almost equate this to being I think this could also be like a really nice sideboard in constructed as a replacement for Lifecrafter's Bestiary against like control decks. I don't think it's necessarily a one-to-one comparison, but the fact that it's a way to draw cards from your creatures and then also makes creatures, I think is like a really cool thing, because also control decks have a hard time dealing with going wide, and just I think like specifically if there's a blue-black deck, like a blue-black mid-rangey surveil deck that is like a control-y deck, I think this card kind of just wrecks them.
Yes, I agree. This card actually has, I think, a couple different things in standard it can go with. I think, like you said, as a sideboard card against control, as this enchantment that can like draw you cards and make dudes. But I think I want to test a deck that plays like this card with the 1-mana fountain from M19 that gains you life in return.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
As like some like engine for like a control deck, where like you just like gain a bunch of life and draw a bunch of cards, right? And you just like kind of control the board, and you have like this for on turn like 15 when you have like 15 lands out or whatever, and you can start making soldiers, like something like that. I think this card's very interested in. This card piques my interest in constructed for sure, and like both those fronts.
Yeah.
Also an enchantment for Enchantress.
Definitely, and it's a good mana sink. Like we were saying, it creates a 1/1. So if your limited games even get grindy, you could conceivably, on your opponent's end step, make a 1/1 attack into it. They either take a point of damage and you gain a life, which would trigger the life gain ability to pay 2 and draw a card. Or if you can make a surprise chump blocker, and if you have 6 mana, you can gain a life, draw a card. I think this card is just very good in limited and in constructed. Pretty much anytime you have a good mana sink like this, you got to pay attention to it, and the fact that it's a good mana sink with a pretty powerful upside of investing mana to draw a card is just probably pretty good and definitely something to keep an eye on.
I would like to just point out that I think this card is really really good with Legion's Landing. So you can like play Legion's Landing into this, and then like the following turn you're gonna be able to draw a card right away with your 1/1 that you attacked with. It also just has a very similar activated mana ability that is similar to the flip side of Legion's Landing, so you can have like multiple of those effects going on. So yeah, I think this card is easily a first pickable like 4 in limited, and then in constructed I would probably say it's like a 2.5, 3. It could just be a straight sideboard card, but it could be main deckable in the right kind of deck, but you have to build around it.
Yeah, I had it at like a 3.5.
I'm gonna be right back, sorry.
No, you're fine. I had it at a 3.5 for similar reasons. I think it is first pickable. It really just depends on how the format, both limited and constructed, shape up. If Chain Whirler is still a dominating force, spending 4 mana to make a 1/1, and then you just like die to aggro on turn 5 or 6. That's just going to feel bad. So it really depends on if Chain Whirler is still the menace to beat.
I think if you play this card in the main deck, you're a control deck that's like just a life gain control deck. So I think you should be good against the red decks, theoretically.
Yeah.
But I think it's mostly a cyber card.
Yeah.
I have this as high as you can go in limited, so like a 4 is probably as high as we can go in limited, right? So I'll have it a 4. And I have it as like a want to be. This card in constructed, I think, is like, again, it could be just a cyber card, like we said. It could be like that main deck. If like there's a life gain control deck, maybe. But I could very easily see this card like never seeing the light of day in standard. It would not shock me. It is interesting though. It's also, I think most likely it eventually becomes a cyber card in like creature decks for control decks, but it's interesting as to how it, like what applications it can be used in like a main deck, maybe, possibly.
Right.
This card is beyond busting standard. Whatever I could go the highest ever, and like Masculine Scene was literally unbeatable. I've never seen anyone beat that in limited during the Fate Reforged, either set. And the constructed playability, I'm probably at like 2. I have a feeling if it gets played, it'll be in the sideboard. So
yeah, most likely, I agree.
It definitely has a lot of interesting. Welcome back. It definitely has a lot of very interesting applications.
Also amazing art.
Oh yeah, the art's very good.
Yeah, art's quite good.
Yeah. All right, Demotion, a single white for an enchantment aura, and it says enchant creature. Enchanted creature can't block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. Notably, this does not include the text "can't attack," so it's not just straight up pacifism. It's just.
I think that this card is insanely good and limited. I think that any Boros deck is going to want a couple of these. I think it's kind of their way to just remove the blockers out of their way. They don't care if they attack back.
Right.
Just being able to aggro the opponent out. It is really nice that also the activated abilities can't be used. So
you can shut down some guild mages that we'll get to later. And
Yep. Which are going to see definitely a good amount of play in limited. I think this card is strictly a limited card as well, though.
I think this card's a trap.
Yeah.
I don't think this card's good limited. Yeah. I've seen cards like this where like they prevent only attacking or they prevent only blocking, and they've always been worse than they look.
I don't know. Preventing only attacking is like so much worse than preventing only to like blocking. This also has the tacked on thing about activating abilities.
Yeah, but like again, I've seen remember the make a guy a 0/4 wall from Dominaria?
Yes.
Yes. The
it's
suspicious
like
bookcase.
That was
Or
3
not
mana,
Dominaria,
1
sorry.
mana. The fact that this is
I know,
1
I know.
mana and it can't block is so much better.
Alright,
I think that's like
yeah,
not a good comparison, but that's just me.
for those of you
I
who are
think-
watching, I just gave the Dan's game reaction to Ian's comment.
Oh, that was to Ian's comment. I saw that you cheered 5 whole bits, and I thank you for those pennies you threw at my face.
Oh, it was just this card is just as Tyler said, it's a trap, and this card, if it gets played, is literally gonna be out of the sideboard. I do not see this getting played anywhere else.
Yeah, I don't see this card as a like. I could see it being played in the main deck, but I'm not. This is not a high pick. Like this is a low pick, and I think that it is not going to be uncommon to have this card start in your sideboard.
Oppressive Raise was
I'm
playable.
gonna bring it
though.
back again. Sorry.
One of our chat members, Quee69, compared it to a card called Oppressive Raise. not exactly sure what set that one was from, unfortunately.
It's a core set card. It was a 1 mana enchantment, and you had to pay 3 mana to have it like attack or block or something.
Yeah, exactly. And it also had
Yeah.
the text of activated abilities of enchanted creature cost 3 more to activate.
Yeah, it costs 3 to do everything basically.
Right.
It is similar. It's like a thing that's like it's like a small nuisance card for like very low mana cost. Like it does not cost a lot. It is nice. We have seen cards that are like 1 mana, make something not block, draw card, but this doesn't have the draw card, but it has the creatures can't block ever again.
Right.
I'm not a fan of this. Maybe if you're like hyper aggressive and have like 8 1-drops or something, but even then, I'm not sold in this card. I don't think this card's good. Like I'm not going to pick it highly, and I think it's going to be picked higher than it should be, at least in the beginning of the format.
Definitely.
I think maybe people will teeter off on it a bit.
Yeah, I had it rated pretty low as well. It just doesn't do enough. If you've got, a hyper aggressive deck like you were talking about, it, removes a blocker, which is nice. But I just can't see picking it very high.
Yeah, it's whatever. Like, I have this at if a 2 is like a sideboard card.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a 2.2. This is like a card that's like going to be in your sideboard, I think, more often than it's going to be in your main deck, but it will be in your main deck a non-0% of times.
I had it on the other end of the point spectrum. I had it like as a 1.5 for similar reasons. It's very, very fringe playable, and I think most of the time you don't want it.
Yes.
I'm
agree
with
with that,
full
too.
sack on this one.
Yeah.
1.5, and to me personally, I'm never gonna put this in my deck if possible. So
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I'll be upset if I have to play this card.
100% upset.
Like I will not be happy to play this card. I'll be like have 21 cards and be like, what's my sideboard? Like, what do I have to play? Yeah.
Ian's
Alright.
number can just come later since he had to go for a moment.
He likes the card. He's probably gonna have it at like a 3 in limited, to be honest.
yeah,
Yeah,
And yeah, none of us think this is doing anything in constructed, obviously.
obviously.
Let's guess. I think it's gonna be a 3.
I think it's gonna be a 3.
Yeah, 2.5, 3, somewhere in there. Divine Visitation is our next card. 3 generic, white for an enchantment, and it says if 1 or more creature tokens would be created under your control, that many 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying and vigilance are created instead. So your Dawn of Hope that we talked about earlier, you pay 3 and a white to make a 1/1. Now you're paying 3 and a white to make a 4/4.
Yeah.
That's
So for
clearly living the dream in limited, because this one's a mythic and the other one's a rare. Constructed, who knows?
I think this card has much more constructed applications than just limited applications. So I'll talk about limited real quick.
100%.
This card's very built around. Like, in limited, I want like around half my cards. Like, I would like more than half my cards to have something to do with tokens, but I would like need at least like 10 cards that make tokens for me to play this, like bare minimum. So I think in limited, it's probably not going to do stuff most of the time, unless like you open this first and then just take every card that says token on it, and then you're just like You just did it.
I definitely think it is pack 1 pickable because then you can actually start crafting a game plan. It would really suck if you open it like pack 3 and you're just sitting there
Even
and you're
pack
like,
2.
yeah, or even pack 2.
If you're pack 2 and you have like one card that makes a token, I think it's it's generally better to just pass on this card.
The
Unless
number
it's,
of
like,
decks that
money.
want this card are very low. So
Yes.
the chances of it coming back around, way better.
Definitely.
But I feel like if you're pick 1, pack 1, you're gonna definitely build around this card. But I don't
Well, it
see
seems
it
like a
being
blast
better
to
than
come
a
around.
2. And constructed, I could see game plan being around this like a 3, but I have not looked at constructed for tokens yet, really.
So I have, and it's interesting. There's like 2 different ideas I've been bouncing around with Ian with, and Ian likes this card a lot for construction. I know. I am, I think, slightly lower on it than he is, but it's still there's a lot of good cards, especially in white, that are token makers that you would play anyway. Like cards like this card with Legion's Landing is obviously nuts, right? Legion's Landing just becomes like 3 and a land that makes angels every turn. So it's great with Legion's Landing. It's great with History Benalia. I think your History Benalias later become just make 2 4/4s. And the new X, like, Secure the Waste card that we're going to get to later.
Oh, yeah. The chat brings up an interesting point. Somebody asked if it was pack 1 pickable, and we did answer that. Brings up, it's probably not correct to pack 1 pick 1, but it's a good meme. So if you were at a high level event, would you pack 1 pick 1 this? Or like you were saying, you said it was a blast to build around. Clearly, it's going to be fun to build around this, but is that going to win you multiple rounds in your draft?
If I'm at like a pro draft or like a top 8 like GP draft or something, and I'm like just like the only thing that matters is winning and like nothing else matters. If this is my pack, I most likely will not take it, but I will not be adverse to not take it or to take it. I will not like be like, oh, I absolutely won't take this card first. I'll look at the pack. I'll take like we talked about Conclave Tribunal, the Oblivion Ring, the exile thing for with Convoke. I'll take that card over this. But if there's no card in the pack that's like a premium removal spell or a premium threat that's like a very good uncommon, I'll probably take this.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think we're on the same page on that one.
Yeah. Constructed. The thing with Constructed though is like, if this is in play and you untap, you don't need to make that many angels to kill them very fast.
Definitely not.
Like, it's not hard, but it is 5 mana and it does nothing when it enters, and it's just a big dumb enchantment, and these kind of decks that are built around it are usually very susceptible to sideboard hate.
For sure.
I know I talked with Ian about, he's talking about a list that like it's just like a regular green white aggro deck, because like there are like the green white aggro decks want to play some number of tokens anyway, and you can just maybe play this card as a 2 of as a value spot. I don't love that idea because it's 5 mana and it doesn't do anything in your value deck. But like if you're playing a Mara anyway, if you're playing History Benalia anyway, and if you're playing like the new Secure the Waste anyway, like if you're going to be playing those cards regardless, there is some merit to maybe playing like one of these or maybe 2 of these as just a like getcha card.
And as we continue looking, we'll have to be on the lookout for cards that make tokens, maybe with Convoke, so you're able to play this turn 5, and maybe free spell like we talked about earlier, the Divine Votation, or the cards that make a token. I'm not sure if there are any Convoke token makers. I think there's like 1 that I saw in green, maybe.
Well, the Secure the Waste has Convoke, I know, but that's another mythic.
Yeah, that's another mythic.
About,
I think there's a green uncommon. I don't know. I'll have to look back when we get there and see. For some reason, I thought there was something that made some green and white knight tokens. But again, we'll have to look and see when we get.
I know there's like a
green.
split card. I don't think that has Convoke though. There's like a couple cards that make tokens. I don't know how many.
Definitely.
There's no Triplicate Spirits, which is the card I was looking at for.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't know when Ian's going to be back, so we'll just
We can just keep going with Adam.
yeah, we'll just
Screw
keep
him.
going, right?
3-man podcasts are way better, anyways.
For
true.
sure. Just get rid of Ian. Flight of the Equinox?
There's no the. You added a the.
Oh. I mean,
Flight
it
of
sounds
Equinox.
it sounds better Flight of the Equinox, like a Flight of the Concords kind of deal.
You're not wrong.
Yeah,
I'm
it
just
sounds way better as
like-
Flight of the Equinox. But no, it's just Flight of Equinox.
Oh yeah, probably equestrian. All right, yeah, it's an
It's got
8-mana
Convoke.
4/5 with Convoke.
Which we've gotten into already. It has flying. It's a 4/5 and it costs 7 and a white.
So 8 mana on the surface for a 4/5 flyer. If you have creatures, they can help pay for it.
Yeah. So this card is big. It's 4/5 flyer is big. It's a dragon. Like, it's quite large. If you cast this, it will most likely dominate the board unless there's some like bomb rare or something. I think a good way to look at Convoke is if you are a dedicated Convoke deck. Like, this is for limited. This card's not going to seek playing constructed.
Correct.
Like, this is pure limited card. If you are like a green-white Selesnya like tokens deck, you're doing Selesnya mechanics, you have Convoke. I think that you can be able to assume you have 3 creatures anytime. So I think in that deck, this card will cost like 5 mana, which is great. Like, very good.
Definitely.
This card costs 5 mana. 5 mana for a 4/5 flyer. Very good. I think in other decks that are maybe not as good, I think around the time when you're casting this, I think it's reasonably up to, but like maybe 2, maybe 1 creature. That's where it's iffy, because then it becomes cost like 6 or 7, which at 6 mana, this is also fine. At 7 mana, it starts to push it. And if you have no creatures, this being 8 mana, like, is just
It's atrocious.
way too much.
It's not something you want. But
But
if
I
you can
think
make it
that in
cheap-
Selesnya, you should be able to have 3 creatures out if you're the Convoke deck. And I think if you have 3 creatures out, this card costing 5 mana is actively very good. Like, this card I think is a high pick.
Oh yeah.
It's a build around, kind of, but like it's a build around in the like guild mechanic, so it's not a hard build around. It definitely leads you in a direction. I'll have it at like probably a 3 point something, like 3.5 in limited. It's not a bomb, but it's like it's a good uncommon in limited.
I had it
At the
as
worst.
a 3, very similar reasons.
At the worst case, this is a playable 8-drop. At the best case, this is a very playable 4 or 5-drop. I feel like this is going to be played 100% of the time. Definitely.
Oh yeah,
Definitely probably top 7 picks. If it's not picked in the first round, I feel like something's gone terribly wrong with the draft. But I'd say it's a 3. It's always going to get played and never get played in constructed.
again to note, very splashable.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
which
it's
is,
very
like,
special.
Important in the in the format where every pack's going to have a guild gate.
Definitely. Yeah. How many white aligned guilds are in this one? I'm trying to remember. Is there
2. There's 2 of each.
Okay, there's 2 of each. That's what I
There's
thought.
2 of each color.
Yep.
Yeah, everything's balanced and even.
Right.
It's not all allied and all enemy.
Thanos
There's like a
based.
mix. Yeah, it's mixed allied and enemy colors, but there's 2 of each color.
Definitely.
Because white is Boros and Selesnya.
Right.
But like you could be, like this card seems good in Izzet deck.
Yeah.
Like if you just have like a couple like Boros guild gates and like maybe like a Boros like the artifact that taps your mana,
Yeah.
right?
The
And you're,
non-clue stones,
it's
the
like
super clue
red
stones.
deck with like walls and like bounce spells and stuff, and you just like slam this card on turn like 5, and then you just have like different like tap and bounce and tempo cards, and you're just hitting with the 4/5. Seems like very realistic.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely be looking for these cards in my sealed pools, left and right.
Yeah,
Pull those to
Yeah, this
the
card's a
to
house
the,
in
the
sealed.
top of the sealed pool list for sure.
giant flyers are good and sealed.
Who would have
Who
thunk
knew?
it?
Yeah.
New.
All right.
Who would have thunk it? Gird for battle. Definitely almost called it grid for battle, but that very clearly says gird for battle. 1 white for a sorcery. put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures.
All right, 2 words for this one: travel preps. This card is so much similar to Travel Preps, and Travel Preps was insane in the format that it was in. I feel that it will be playable in every Selesnya deck, probably every Boros deck, because if you're going to be mentoring at all with this card, like being able to bolster up your mentor creatures so they can continue to mentor, it just seems absurd.
Oh yeah, and it lets you stagger the power of your mentor creatures. Earlier we were talking about some mentor creatures outgrowing different things after you grow them from the first few attacks. This one lets your mentor become higher power, so you can start mentoring smaller power creatures again.
Yeah, obviously this card's great with mentor. I actually compare it to Shoulder, which is
that's a good comparison too.
Support 2 draw card, which that card was great, but that card was great because it drew a card. I'm actually not super high on this card. I think it's good. I'm not like the highest because it's a sorcery though. I probably have this as like a 6th pick, maybe 5th, but like probably around 6th or 7th pick, I think, in draft. And I'll probably play it in sealed if I have a bunch of creatures. The thing, I'm going to be very clear. This card will not see constructed play right now.
Yep.
But
right now,
going forward, if there's a like +1/+1 counter theme that's like hyper aggressive or something, this is a 1 mana card that puts 2 counters on things. So if there's like some counter doubler and something that really cares about counters, with the mana being very good going forward, I could this card will be on my radar when
hear me out here. Hardened Scales Affinity.
No, this card's not good enough for Modern.
no, definitely not.
Come on, guys. Let's live a little bit.
When they print the Simic cards and like they're all like there's like some green, like they reprinted Hardened Scales or whatever, which Hardened Scales actually, like, I think in flavor makes more sense in Ravnica than it does in cons.
Oh yeah,
For sure.
I am back.
Welcome back.
Oh, you're back.
Ugh.
Missed a few cards, but whatever. We're on Gird for battle.
Gird for battle. I think this card's really, really great in limited.
What
Yeah.
about a Hardened Scales Affinity in Modern? Asks Pay the Toll.
I don't think that you would pay a mana for this. In that deck. There's too many ways to just get counters without spending mana.
I think you guys are all a little bit higher than me on this card. I think this card's fine.
I have
think
it
it's
as
just
like
really
a
good
2 in limited.
Okay, so you're closer to me. I think you'll almost always play this card, but I would not be shocked. Like, I would not be upset to cut this card from my deck.
Definitely
I wish
not.
it was an instant, so it would be a trick, but then I think it would be more than 1 mana.
If it was an instant, this card would be nuts.
Yeah. I also just really like this in a mentor deck. Just like
Oh,
being
yeah,
able to
it's great with mentor.
pump your mentor guys so that your other guys get pumped is really sweet.
It's very good mentor. Yes.
It is a little annoying that you you might end up not. I guess you just always put the counter on, but like in a situation where you only have 2 creatures and like you already mentored it up to like the max amount, this doesn't help you mentor again unless you play another creature.
Yes.
But I still think that the effect is really good with the mentor creatures.
Ideally, though, yeah, you use this as a mentor, so this is 1 mana that gives like 3 creatures +1/+1 counters, right?
Right, exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of high on this for limited, like a 3. Oh, Hazada Marshall.
Yep. 1 drop. Creature, human soldier. Whenever Hazda, Marshall, and at least 2 other creatures attack, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. It is a 1/1.
Because it's just battalion, right?
Yeah, but
This is
just
100%
battalion,
just battalion, just spelled out.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if it was like mostly the same or just like exactly the same. Okay.
It's also an uncommon for limited purposes. I don't know if I said that out loud. I don't think I did.
Yeah.
I think this card is like average limited card in the right deck. If you want to be super wide, or like aggressive, you want 1-drops. I think this card's fine, but I'm not gonna like. There's a lot of cards I'm gonna pick over this card.
Very interesting.
It
With
is
a
a
card
1-drop,
that's
which is
literally on
important
the screen
for
with
your
this card
2-drop
right
mentor
now.
cards.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good with Mentor, but I also just think that this card is like. I would rather pick the Mentor cards before I pick this card. Like, I'm not gonna pick this card and then hope to get the Mentor cards. I also think that it's probably should just be a common. Like, I don't know why it's an uncommon in my eyes, but
I think this card has some constructed applications, actually.
You don't want this card at common, because if you end up, say, 3 of them in your deck, and you just attack with
5.
all 3 or 5 even, and you just attack with all of them, keep creating soldiers.
they are good in multiples.
Yeah,
but
they definitely stack. You do not.
I think
want
this card
at
needs to be an
common.
uncommon. Yeah.
All right. Did any of you play the unsets and play with Squirrel Dealer?
Squirrel
I did not
Dealer?
play the unsets, no.
Okay, so Squirrel Dealer was a 1/1 that came in the battlefield with a 1/1 token. If someone else said they liked squirrels, that card was absurd in that format. That's why this card was an uncommon, because that card was a common in that format, and they made a mistake.
Yeah, but it's an unset,
ask
so
a
I don't
person
know.
outside the game, do you like squirrels?
And if they do like squirrels, you get a 1/1 green squirrel creature token.
I like how the dealer is a raccoon lizard bird.
Oh yeah.
Jeez.
If they say they don't, are you allowed to like insult them? Like, what's
Oh
the-
yeah,
I
you
think you're
definitely go
encouraged
out.
to
No,
insult them.
I was just checking.
But
Who doesn't
with
like
this card,
squirrels?
I had a Squirrel Dealer deck with 6 Squirrel Dealers in it. Let me tell you, a lot of people like squirrels that day.
That's kind of absurd.
Yeah, so I have a feeling that if this card was a common, and you ever got 6 of them in a deck, it would just ruin the entire game. You would never lose.
Oh, I would not be surprised if this card was a common and they dropped with Tom Ross, and Tom Ross just had like 8 of them one time, just like, just.
Dude, wait, is that Tom Ross as the main character in that picture?
I hope so. It is now. Whether it was
It is
before or
now.
not.
He's now the
Tom
Tom
Ross. It's now Tom Ross.
Yeah.
He is the boss.
The boss.
Yeah,
is.
but for like, I talked about earlier with like a human, if there's a human stack, like if humans ever comes back, this is the kind of 1-drop that like I think would be good in human.
There's no synergy
Like,
with humans though. There's no like lore.
I know.
Yet,
But
is
it's-
what he's saying.
You're
He
just saying
said
that it's
if
setting
it
up.
comes back.
Yeah. Like, well, there's Radiant Destiny, which is like
Sure.
kind of a thing. But yeah, this card is another like this card seems also good with Legion's Landing. Like, just if you want a bunch of white 1-drops, this is one of the better white 1-drops, I think.
I also
like,
do
for
like that this
constructed.
card helps the like enchantment. That when you gain life, you can pay and draw a card, so you can kind of get some card advantage out of your 1-drops, so you can keep
Yeah.
running more 1-drops.
Yes, it does make lifelinking soldiers, which is also very good and limited. Like,
Mhm.
It
I
also makes
have a
creature
problem
tokens
with
for
this
the
in
mythic.
constructed if Chain Whirler is still a thing, but that's the only problem I have in
that's true. Yeah, but like if Shane was a thing, this hypercentric like 1-drop deck I'm thinking of is also can't be a thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but it's okay. We're cutting Chamberlain for another card we can get to later.
So I think these are both 2.5s in
Yeah, I think it's a 2.5. Yeah,
That's exactly where I had it.
yeah.
Do you have it a little
Agreed.
higher because of Squirrel Dealer, Aaron, or you still have got 2.5?
I think because it's an uncommon, I think most decks will play this, especially with the Mentor. But I think it'll get played and wanted in both the Selesnya and the Boros decks. So I think it's
It
probably
It
a
does.
3.
I think a reason to not put it at 3 is literally the next card, which is a common.
That is a good point. That is a good point.
I think that I would pick the common that we're going to talk about next over this card almost every time.
I agree.
Oh yeah, this common is.
So
is
so
some-
let's get to it so we can compare it.
oh yeah, Healer's Hulk.
Well,
1 white mana, creature bird, flying, lifelink. It's a 1/1. It's a common. I mean, it's essentially Lava Axe with lifelink, right?
it's what's it called? War Leader's Helix.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
4
Card's
mana.
absurd.
No, but Suntail Hawks have generally been bad. Like I've generally been on the don't play like Flying Man in limited. Like don't do it. It's not good. This
You don't
card
like
is
the
an
blue-white
exception.
flyer strategy?
No, I think the Blue White Flyers is fine, but I'll play a million 3-mana 2/2 flyers, but I don't want to play the 1-mana 1/1 flyers unless I have like a ton of equipment or something. Like I'm not big into 1/1 flyers for one. I think it's too low impact. I think you can ignore it, take 5 hits like it's nothing, and then just like progress your game plan with 2/2s and 3/3s, and just waste the guy even if you're down to 10 or whatever. But this card having lifelink is a big deal. Also, mentors will make this card great.
Yeah.
If you make this card a 2/2, like you would pay 4 mana for a 2/2 lifelink. If they printed a card that was 4 mana 2/2 flying lifelink, that card would be actively good and limited.
Wait, 4
This
mana
card costs
2/2 flying lifelink? You would play that?
Yes. Yes.
I think it would need to be 3 for me, but maybe it's 4 is okay.
Alabaster Kieran was a 2/3 for 4 with flying and vigilance. Didn't even have lifelink, and that card was like actively pretty good.
Quay just
Like,
said that there in chat. Quay said that there was a 2 mana 1/1 flying lifelink in Return to Ravnica, and it was good because of Scavenge. So he thinks that this card will also be good. I think that's
Yeah,
a good way to equate.
It is. This card with Mentor is like, this is like, we talked about before, like, oh, you want the 1-drops to go with your 2-drop Mentor. This is the actual 1-drop you want to go with your 2-drop
That's
Mentor.
the reason that I wasn't as high on Hazada.
Like,
this is a common, and I would rather just pick the Hawk over the Marshal almost every time.
This is like the number 1 card you want for Mentor decks.
I also think that if the Boros Mentor deck is like a very good strategy in draft, which I think it will be, like I could see someone pack 1 pick wanting this.
Yeah. Well, because like I think that if you're in like red-white deck, like you would want 6 of these.
Yeah, well, you want as many as possible, just because they're just gonna always get pumped by your Mentor dudes. Obviously, if there's like a Mentor card in the pack, you take that. But like, if there's no good like white cards in the pack, I could see you just taking this.
Yeah.
Like just taking this, cut off white, and try to get into that deck.
So I'm gonna rate this as like a 3, but it might even be higher than that if for limited.
Yeah, I like 3.
Yep, I
Maybe
had
3 and a
I had
quarter.
it pretty much as a 3 in my notes.
I'm not as high on this card. I understand
Okay.
the implications of it, but historically these cards haven't been that good. I think that this is going to be probably like a 2.5, 2.75 right in there, but I don't. If the format turns out that you can't play this card's gonna be unplayable.
Yeah,
So I'd go on the conservative side of like 2.5 rather than always playable.
that's fair.
Okay, so you're in your first draft, Aaron, right? And you open a pack with Hazada Marshall and Healer's Hawk. Which one do you take?
Hazada Marshall, because it goes into either Boros
Okay.
or Selesnya.
Okay.
Easily, it's more dynamic.
I think you are right that Hazada Marshall is a better Selesnya card. So if you aren't sure where you're at yet, Hazada Marshall is probably a better pick because it's still good with Mentor, but it also works with like the token strategies with Convoke.
And it's an uncommon. You're more likely to wheel the Healer's Hawk, and you may just open more of them. So I would actually probably err on the side of taking Marshall, at least first draft, with Healer's Hawk.
I'll take the Hawk.
I'm willing to be wrong on this card, but
I think it's like worth the conversation. Yeah, it's like it is interesting. Like I agree that these cards have historically not been good.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's just like the unique keyword ability of Mentor and how frequently you can get a Mentor card. I think is going to be dependent on how good Healer's Hawk is.
Which again goes back to our first card. Like the first card we talked about how like that card's better than it looks because I think the Mentor cards are just good.
Right, and it's a common, which is relevant for having Mentor cards. Because if you need Mentor synergy and they're all the good ones are at uncommon, you might be stuck playing the common ones.
Do we want to talk about another card that's a white 1-drop that pairs well with Mentor?
let's go.
Sandblack's baby.
Hunted
this
Witness.
I like
Another,
how there's 3 1-drop white cards in a row.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
another
funny.
1-drop in white. Creature human. It's a 1/1 common. When Hunted Witness dies, you create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. I kind of wonder if there's a seed for an aristocrats deck coming, because there's a lot of stuff that cares about when creatures die, different stuff like that, especially in like green when we get to green. So I don't.
Yeah.
It's very
And Vraska
interesting.
specifically.
I really like this card.
Do you like it for limited?
Traveler.
Do I like what?
This card for limited. Like, do you think it's good for limited?
Honestly, I think that it's just really dependent on how good these 1-drops are and how many you want. We
agree.
just literally looked at this is the third 1-drop white 1/1 that
I think
has.
most
other
of us
things.
agreed this is the worst one, right, of the 3?
I don't know. This might be
No?
easier to get off than the Marshal, like against certain decks.
You might get a guy more
Like
consistently.
you're pretty much guaranteed a guy with the Hunted Witness, but you're not guaranteed it with the Marshal. So there's a chance that this could be better than the Marshal. I think this card goes better in Celestia than it does in a Mentor deck. Where the other one, because it is like a repeatable way to get 1/1s, is better in like the Mentor deck because you can keep making 1/1s to Mentor onto. Where this one like might just be making sure that you have a way to convoke. Because it's cool that you can like attack with this. If they block, you can use it to convoke like the guy you get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think you play it in Boros as well. If this thing dies, it leaves a 1/1 that you can then mentor onto again.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think it's just a good card for those decks. It's just a matter of like how many 1-drop 1/1s. Like, are you gonna play like 8 1-drops? I don't like. That's usually a bad strategy in limited. So
Right.
it just
not
really
always.
depends on how. Well, yeah, I know, but like that's what I'm saying. So it really just depends on how often you can get these mentor cards for. I don't think that in Celestia you want a bunch of 1-drops, but in Boros you would.
I agree.
So like it really depends on your curve, how you can. I don't know. I think the constructed playability of this card is really dependent on Aristocrats deck, but I'm gonna put it as a 2 in both. I think because
So
the Aristocrats deck I don't think exists yet. So this is like this is good in a specific deck that doesn't exist yet.
So yeah, that's a good point. First, for this card in Celestia, I do think that there is a strategy I want to try out with Celestia where you just drop a bunch of 1-drops and try to like turbo convoke creature, like
Just
try
like a
to play
bunch
some
of
big
1-drops and then like the
Yeah,
7
and try to play like a
5/5s
big-
with trample.
yeah, just play the card in like turn 4 or something, right? Like,
Right.
just like I think that's gonna be something like that's maybe worth trying. So like maybe, but like this is definitely a 1-drop that I'm not willing to take super highly. This is one of the things that's like, oh, like my deck wants 1-drops. I'll pick this guy up later as like filler more.
Yeah. Also, the 1-drops do help. Like if you like first pick the Hazada Marshal, that card actually gets better the more 1-drops you have because it's more likely to make the effect of getting another 1/1. So I can see you wanting to like pick the Hazada first and then pick these other accelerate 1-drops afterward.
Yeah, I think this card is playable though. I think all the 1-drops are playable, which is interesting. I think I agree. Sam Black wants to play this card modern. He'll have to build the deck and I'll have to see it to believe it. He wants to play like Rally Against Us or something as just like a bunch of just Doom Traveler tribal. It is a human again, which is
Not
maybe
irrelevant.
relevant, maybe not.
Human makes humans. Too. I don't understand the idea that this card makes a 1/1 like soldier with lifelink and it dies, but sure, like let's go with it.
It's
Well,
a
doesn't-
hunted witness, so when it dies, the soldier comes back and it tries to like find.
Investigate.
Yeah, it's investigating.
Notable, it doesn't
Flavor.
make human. The soldier in Nyx is not human.
Yeah, it's just a soldier.
Just a soldier.
Yeah, weirdly enough.
Hmm.
As human-like as it may seem,
Wait,
We're not
can you
sure.
go back to Hazada Marshal? Does that make a soldier?
it makes the same token. They make the same token.
They make the
All
same.
the
exact-
All the soldier tokens are not human. They're just soldiers.
There are no human tokens in this set.
Interesting. I feel like
There
all
are.
of the soldier tokens are created by humans.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, I think Amara makes soldier tokens, or she makes elf tokens.
I wouldn't be surprised
they
if this
She
if
makes
this
elf tokens.
card made if it made it into each of the decks that needed to be, or each of the decks that played white. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it just fills that role of it can chump block, gain you some life, and buy you some time. And lifelink seems to matter a little bit in this format from what I've seen so far. I haven't looked at the whole set yet, which is probably my fault, but I definitely feel like it's going to have an implication later on as well.
Good if you have divine visitation. Makes token.
Excellent.
Very good.
It's true.
All right.
That's why I'm saying
That's-
like Divine Visitation. You have to like first pick that card and then pick these like accessory cards.
Yeah, exactly.
Kui brings up an interesting fact. There was a card called Murder Investigation. You enchant a creature you
Oh, yeah.
control, and when that
That's-
creature dies, you get X11 white soldier creature tokens. So some of these cards may be calling back to that a little bit.
Yeah, that card was great in flavor, but terrible in play. Like that card is like not playable.
Well, I
But
mean,
the flavor on it
you
was
can-
great.
It's different when it's an enchantment, because when it's an
Yeah,
enchantment,
exactly.
you can just get blown out if they kill your guy in response to target.
But, yeah, that format also had like a bunch of bounce spells and stuff and its speed. You're just
Yeah.
like,
I was just bringing up the flavor connections of why it possibly.
Yeah,
yeah,
may
that
be
is a
wanting
good.
to
That is a
make
good like flavor comparison. That is a it's a good catch.
Alright,
job,
next
Cole.
one, Inspiring
Yeah.
Unicorn.
2 white for a creature unicorn. It's an uncommon. It is a 2/2. Whenever Inspiring Unicorn attacks, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn.
Is
Also,
anyone else upset that this card is not a horse unicorn? And just a
only
unicorn?
slightly.
No, because
I'm-
horses aren't unicorns. And unicorns
You
are
don't know
not
that.
horses.
Have you ever met
They
a
are
unicorn?
separate. Yes. They told me
Whoa.
that they're separate.
Wow.
I don't know. Look at
sounds
that
pretty
card.
racist.
It has horse legs. It has a horse body. It has a gorgeous mane.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that sharp thing on the top of its head is it's the standout.
This
Alright,
card's
so
quite good and limited.
yeah, I think this card's great and limited. I think that if you have, I think this is like a nice way to have your token strategy to have a payoff.
Definitely.
I wish that it was like a 2/3 and not a 2/2, because there's a lot of like 2/2s in this format, but I
It pumps
do.
itself.
Yeah, it's
I know,
not other
I know.
creatures you control, so it pumps itself. So it attacks as a 3/3.
Yeah, but like when you play it the turn, like your opponent's 2/2s can attack into it, which is a little annoying. Like if it was a 2/3, it would maybe your opponent's 2/2s wouldn't attack into it.
And if they're attacking into you, they're probably taking a shit ton back. So I don't think they'll probably be
Yeah.
doing that.
That's fair.
I think this card has to be able to. You have to be able to block this card because like, if this card's just like you can't block it and it pumps your team, it's just way too good.
And I think it'll be good in the Boros decks too, because if you can mentor onto this, at least.
This card's just gonna be
becoming a
more
horde
attacking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, nuts. It actually is interesting. Do you stack your mentor trigger so that you can get the mentor before this +1/+1 gets resolved, so that you don't fizzle it?
Absolutely.
The way it
You have to be
works-
very,
no,
very
the way
careful.
it works doesn't matter
Wait,
because it checks for 4 and after. It checks for 4 and after, so no matter how you stack it, you'll be fine.
no, because you could target while it's under, and then if you have the +1/+1 from the unicorn resolved before the mentor trigger, it
Yeah.
checks when the trigger resolves, and then it
I know.
fizzles.
No,
No, but the
because
mentor
it's
also gets bigger.
symmetrical, so it also scales. So everything that's
Oh.
attacking.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the mentor guy would. Okay,
Yeah.
you're right.
So like if a
Never
2/1
mind.
goes onto a 1/1, there'll be a 3/2 on a 2/2, so it'll still work.
Yep, I'm done. My bad.
Yeah. This card's like there's a reason this card's double white. It's because like they don't want this card to be splashable in other colors. Like this
Right.
card's like very good.
Yeah, you have to be kind of base white for this.
Yeah. No constructor applications.
Yeah,
I-
no construction applications
We
at all.
didn't give numbers to Hunted Witness, so do we want to run over number for Hunted Witness and then do the numbers for Inspired
Oh.
Unicorn real quick?
I'm still just gonna put 2 for both formats.
2.5.
On both?
I'm like a little
Or-
higher. Yeah, in both.
That's exactly where I was at.
Yeah, probably me too.
If it sees play, it's a player. If not, it's not.
Yeah, I just think that the deck in constructed for it doesn't exist yet.
So
I think
definitely
It's
not.
like a
Like
it's like a
Rakdos,
yes
maybe.
no.
I could see that once Rakdos is a thing, that there could be like a Mardu Aristocrats deck, but you need like the Rakdos like sacrifice outlets, because it's like a very Rakdos type of thing.
Mhm.
Any comments on the card, Aaron? Do you have any thoughts on Inspired
The
Unicorn?
unicorn?
Yeah.
I mean, kind of what I said. I think it's going to be good in both go wide and Boros strategies, because if it can become like a 4/4 when it's attacking, it's just going to be so far out of range. I think for a lot of the other decks, I don't know how obviously card advantage, but I don't know how the other decks are going to be able to deal with a bunch of fatties.
Right. Alright. Intrusive Pack Beast. 4 and a white for a creature, beast. It has vigilance, and when it enters the battlefield, tap up to 2 target creatures your opponents control. It is a common, and it is a 3/3.
Can you scroll down a little bit more? Or sorry, you probably did it. I'm
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
delayed. There you go.
This card looks so much bigger than a 3/3. Like look at the guy. He's so
I
tiny.
know, right?
It looks so much bigger than a 3/3.
It looks huge.
I
thought it was like a
think this
4/4 the
card-
first time I looked at it.
I think this card would be really good and limited if it was a 3/4, but being a 3/3 is a little annoying.
Oh yeah.
I think it's still fine. Like
Yeah,
tapping 2 things is like
It's a lot.
Kind
It's a
of-
lot. It's a big tempo swing for your attack that turn.
Helps you break up board stalls. I feel like there's probably going to be a decent amount of board stalls in this format. So just being able
Yeah.
to tap down 2 creatures seems pretty strong.
Yeah,
I do think
it
this
is
card's
5
mostly
mana,
just this card's mostly just a boring like filler limited card. I'm gonna rate it as like a 2.
Yeah,
as
I
such.
think that's
Maybe
just a
2.5.
2. Not much to really
Yeah.
talk about.
Has there been anything in previous limited formats to compare it to?
Yes, there's a 5 mana 3/4 that tapped one thing, and that card was also just okay.
Having vigilance is pretty relevant, Voke and other things, but outside of that, I think Siller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this deck is more of a Celestia card than a Boros card, just because I think that Celestia is gonna more likely have a higher curve than the Boros deck, so you might be playing more lands or you know whatever have it be, and then the vigilance is relevant for Convoke. But
I actually think slightly the opposite because it helps to get your mentor guys through, but like it's
that's
close. I think it works in both.
Yeah,
I think it's
mean,
yet another white card that is people are going to be fighting over it. You know, it's just
Yeah.
a solid common.
This
yeah,
card's
I mean,
boring,
You're
but
gonna pick like all the other white cards over this.
For the most
well,
part.
actually no. This card's boring, but not as boring as the next card. Trust me, the next card gets even more boring.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
The any particular numbers, did Aaron, or did I miss your number on that one?
I think it's a solid 2.
Gotcha.
Yeah. 2.
As we alluded, this next card's pretty boring. Ledva?
Ledev.
Ledev.
Ledev? Oh, yeah, there's a... Okay, I just butchered that one. Guardian. 3 and a white for a 2/4 with Convoke.
It's a
That's
knight.
it.
Oh, yeah, Human Knight, common. Sure. That's what it does. It's...
Another one of the things where the thing it's riding is much bigger than the actual rider, but it's actually the rider.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think that this is just a filler card. It's playable as like your 20th card or whatever in your Convoke deck.
Yep.
1.5.
I also
actually-
exactly had it
actually-
at 1.5.
I like this actually in Boros as well because it's a 2/4. So if you mentor it with a 3 power guy, it becomes like a 3/5, which is actually really good blocker.
That is
That's-
actually kind of the point.
That's the only like application that I see with this card.
A 3/5 on turn, what would it be? Turn 4 attacking? It's not
5.
terrible.
Well, I guess you could convoke it on turn 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the other
Yeah.
thing. Like getting this down on turn 3 could be like really powerful, but then also it's like a little bit worse in your Boros deck because they kind of want to be aggressive and they don't really want to tap their creatures
Yeah.
and play stuff.
Yeah, I think this card's pretty filler though in general. I
Definitely.
think there's play to it, but I think for the most part this card's boring.
Yep, I'm gonna keep it as a 2 for me. Unplayable and constructed.
Got a number
Though it is
for
a
me, Aaron?
knight, so who knows?
This is definitely filler. This is probably like a 1.75 at best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Light of the Legion. Notably, this one does actually say "the" in it, unlike that other card that I wanted to add a "the" to.
Yep.
4 white for a creature angel. It's a rare. It is a 5/5. It has flying. It has mentor, and it says when Light of the Legion dies, put a +1/+1 counter on each white creature you control.
I think this card is a huge bomb in limited.
Oh yeah,
I
definitely
would
a bomb
pick
unlimited.
one this up like over any card I think that we've seen, except for maybe Conclave Tribunal. But I might pick this over Conclave Tribunal.
I think it's over kind of a
Just being
I would take this
a
over.
5/5 flyer for 6 is good on its own.
Right.
It having mentor with 5 power is super awesome because you're just gonna mentor forever.
Yeah.
And then the death ability is just like didn't need to be there for this card to be good, and that just like is another extra nice thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the last line of text is completely unnecessary, but just
I do agree that it should be double white since it does have an ability that's like specifically for white creatures when it dies. So, but it is cool with hybrid creatures.
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah, this card's a bomb. This card will not see playing constructed. It's a 6 mana first, like not
Dude,
enough.
imagine playing Lyra and then playing this card.
Had a similar thing,
Thanks
but
so
I
much.
will one up you. Imagine going turn 4 Splendid Archangel. Is that the card from M19?
3. Turn 3, Resplendent. Turn 4, Shalai. Turn 5, Lyra. Turn 6, this thing.
I mean, how...
Angel Tribal. Baby.
Yeah, Angel Tribal.
Yeah.
Play a Johnny in
So
it,
like
too.
I said, this card's not playing fully constructed.
I mean, if you're playing Llanowar Elves to ramp up to your Lyra, I don't know. 6 mana can certainly become something you play on turn 4.
But this card is a solid 4, like bomb status and limited.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the cards that I will want to pick first every time I see it.
Oh yeah.
And I will question every human being that doesn't pack one pick this one, unless
It's
they get
playable on both Boros and Selesnya again, even though it's a Boros card. So
Yeah.
Yeah, this card is good if you can cast it. We're losing nothing else.
Tyler, you're getting a little robot-y, and you might
With
want
no
to
other creatures. This
leave and come back.
Yeah, you may want to pop out real quick and come back, Tyler. You're getting a little robot-y. Discord's eating your words.
Yum nom nom nom.
So everybody agree that this is a 4?
Bomb, not playable and limited.
Or
You
constructed.
Constructed, sorry.
Definitely playable and limited. I mean, this card is just a house. I mean, it just wrecks so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's a house.
All right, so
Does it have red hair, or is that just the sun?
I think it's the red hair.
Okay, good.
Just to make it look more Borosy.
Gotcha. Definitely. All right, redheads in there. All right, here's another card that costs 6, except for this one is a common. It's 4 white for an elephant cleric. It's a 3/4. It has Convoke, and it says when it enters the battlefield, you gain 4 life.
I think this card is an interesting limited card. I think that it's just a filler card, and it could also be a sideboard card. If you have like a token deck, this could be like a way to stem bleeding against an aggressive deck. But I feel like the go wide strategies are going to be kind of decent against Boros, anyways.
When you say sideboard, do you mean constructed or limited?
Limited specifically. I don't think that
Okay.
it's constructed playable.
No.
I agree.
It's far too
That's all
expensive for constructed applications. There are cards later on in gold that are just far better than that for constructed applications. I don't think you'll want to touch the Loxodon Restore with a 10-foot pole in constructed. You might play it in limited. I don't think it's that great, but again, you might play it as 23rd-ish card.
I think you'll see play in limited. I think it'll be definitely the 22nd, 23rd card, because if you go like 2-drop, 3-drop, 4, or this says your 4-drop, like that's a pretty good curve, and you gain a little bit of advantage in life. And I think that for 4 mana, this card is incredibly reasonable.
Yeah, 3/4 is like a not the terrible body.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the life gain is almost irrelevant. I mean, it's not irrelevant.
Negligible.
It's negligible in this sense that like you're not playing this for the life gain, really.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you are. That's the why. Like, if you sideboard it, you're playing it for the life gain. But if you're main decking it, I don't think that's why you're playing it.
See, I don't think you're gonna sideboard this because it's a 6-drop, right? I think you like against an aggressive deck. I'd rather bring the curve down, unless I'm like really good at going wide. Which if I'm really good at going wide, I think this card's probably in my main deck already.
That's fair.
So I had it as a 2.5.
1.5.
I think that's where I have it too,
Right.
William. Ian?
Yeah, Ian, I don't think I had
I
it written.
think, I think it's like a 2. I don't know. I think it's a sideboard card mostly.
Good old classic Luminous Bonds. 2 and a white, enchantment aura for a common, enchant creature. Enchanted creature can attack or block. It's pacifism.
I still like the 1-drop better than this. Like, I think that the 1-drop is almost always going to be better than this.
Did you rank the 1-drop? I think that was when you cut out.
No, I
he ranked it.
Emotion. I think you don't have it down, but I ranked it as like a 3
Oh, did you? Okay.
in limited. Yeah, I think it's a good
Remember what we
one.
said
Like,
he was going to rank it at?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what we had.
I think this is way better than the 1-drop.
Way
and
better.
We'll see play 100% of the time where the 1-drop will not. This is a solid 3, if not a 3.5.
I had it as exactly a 3. The card's 100% better than Demotion. You'll play it in 100% of your white decks. You may even splash for it. It's just pretty good removal. The only time it's not true removal is if the creature has a consistent effect, either like an Anthem or Upkeep Trigger, things like that.
Notably, we haven't seen too many so far, but this does not stop activated abilities.
Yeah,
Correct,
that's why
yeah.
I liked the 1-drop better, because it stops activated abilities, and I think the blocking is more relevant than the attacking.
I don't think we've seen any activated abilities so far, other than the 1/2/2 rare that like sacks itself or destroy legendary.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's the only one we've seen so far.
That's the only one on a creature yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this card's like a 3, maybe a little higher than a 3. It's just pacifism. They decided pacifism was too good at 2 mana, so they made it 3 mana.
No.
Still very good. Just a removal spell.
So Ian, you said that you
Also,
had. Oh, go ahead.
Notably, notably, they can still use the creature for like convoke,
Right. Yeah, that's also huge.
which is
Well, maybe not
nothing.
huge, but it's not nothing.
Yeah.
So what do you have this one at, Ian? If you had demotion at a 3 and you think this is
I
worse?
think this is a 2.
A 2.
Oh.
All right, can't wait to
wanna be
draft.
in
I think that I would pick the other one over this every time.
I want to be in every draft you're in, bud.
Yep, I want to be directly. I want to be passed by to you 100% of the time if you're taking demotion over Loomis bonds.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
We'll see.
I'm okay with being wrong. Like,
Parhelion Patrol. Why did I nail this name but failed on so many others? I don't understand my vernacular. I don't think English is my first language, even though I was even though I was born here in America. I think I speak Southern, therefore I can't read.
Southern is a different language.
It's 100% a different language. So Parhelion Patrol, 3 and a white. It is a creature, human knight. It has flying, vigilance, and mentor, and it is a 2/3.
I like this
I have
card.
this list of cards that the art is very does not say what the creature type is.
Yeah, at least it has flying, though. At least it's not this giant bird, and it just doesn't have flying. At least it has flying. You mentioned Alabaster Kin earlier, which was a 3 mana 2/3 with flying and vigilance, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just that with an extra ability.
Right, and an extra generic mana over a white pip. Wasn't
Yeah, if
Alabaster
you can
Kin
ever
1
mentor-
white?
No, it's 3 and a white.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, it's same cost. If you can ever put a counter on this card becomes nuts.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's, as a 3/4, you literally get to. It just becomes like Anafenza with vigilance, where you just put a counter on an attacking creature every turn.
Yep.
Which I don't think it's that difficult, as we saw with there's the 3 power common mentor guy, and there's the uncommon put a counter on 2 creatures.
Yeah, I think this card
This
is really
card's-
good in the mentor decks. This is going to be a common mentor card that I think you take. I like that it has flying, so that it's harder for you to lose the mentor effect. I do think that it sucks that it's a 2/3, not a 3/2, but it might be kind of busted if it was the other way around.
It'd be
Oh, it'd be
too good as a 3.
way better. But no, I think I'm picking this card pretty.
It doesn't die to the flashback shock that we're going to see later. Common.
Yeah, that's super relevant, I think.
Yeah. Or it doesn't die to the next card too, but we'll get to the next card later.
Right. Anybody got numbers? I've got it pretty high. I think I have it as a 2, 2.5.
I think it's a 3.
I think it's a 3.
I would say 2.5. Just because it doesn't have 3 power to start out.
Yeah, that's fair.
I do think that Vigilance is pretty sweet with Convoke, though, too, so it's playable in Celestia.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes.
And upgrades your tokens. Righteous Blow. It is 1 mana for an instant. It is a common. Righteous Blow deals 2 damage to target attacking or blocking creature.
This card's
This
fine.
card it's just Slash of Talons, right?
Yep, Slash of Talons.
Yeah.
It's just Slash.
Literally Slash of Talons. Okay. That card's fine.
Yeah, it's a 2.5 for me.
This card's fine.
Yeah, it's literally Slash of Talons. Wow.
Yeah, 2.5. Just fine. It's a combat trick. It'll kill smaller things sometimes, and like sometimes you can use it in conjunction. Notably, this goes way up to your first strike creatures, which
Agreed.
there are like a non-zero amount in the set.
Oh yeah.
So
There's a lot of
The
2 toughness.
the flavor tag
Remember-
mentions to Jack, and I think that's where you want to be. It's probably most playable in Boros, but you'll play it in pretty much any white deck. You won't take it super highly, but you'll definitely play it at least one.
Yeah, it's 2.5.
yeah, 2.5.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All right, Rock Charger, aka Pegasus Courser. It is 2
No,
and
it's
a...
better for Moto.
That's right. 2 and a white for a creature bird. It is an uncommon. It has flying, and it says whenever Rock Charger attacks, target attacking creature without flying gains flying until end of turn. Pegasus Courser was good, so why not
Very good.
the same Pegasus Courser? I mean, it's just the same.
It's
card.
also very,
It's
very
really
good
good
with
mentor
mentor.
cards.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Letting them get
Just
through.
jumps your mentor guys, so they don't get blocked and killed.
Yeah.
Because the mentor
3/1?
guys are generally smaller.
It's a 1/3. Did I say it backwards?
No, you're 3/1
No.
mentor guy.
Oh, yeah,
You're
it's
reverse.
3/1. Yeah, oh, yeah.
3/1 mentor.
It upgrades it
Yeah,
twice.
it's very good.
Any of your
And then upgrades everything else.
yeah.
Yeah, this card's quite good. I have this card as like, I think I have this card as like a 3.5 almost.
That's where I had
Yeah, I
it
think this
on
card's very good.
my notes.
Yeah, I agree with you guys.
Even in Selesnya, this jumping like your huge 5/5s and stuff is also just like equally as good.
Oh yeah. Because there
So,
are
like,
some
in both
big
the-
fatties.
In both the white guilds, this works really well. Like, I think there's a reason this card's an uncommon now instead of common. Because I
Right.
think it just happens to work with both guilds extremely well.
Do you have any dissenting thoughts on that one, Aaron? Or any thoughts in general?
It's same as it was before. It's a 3. It will definitely work with both guilds very well, and the fact that it jumps your 3/1 that we had said was pretty high pick. We thought, top 5 or 6 picks, that it'll definitely see a lot of play.
Right. All right. Righteous. Oh no, sorry, that's above. Skyline
Yeah.
Scout. Yeah.
Yep.
1 and a white for a human scout. Whenever Skyline Scout, it's a. Oh, hold on, I didn't scroll down far enough. It is a 2/1, and it says whenever Skyline Scout attacks, you may pay 1 and a white. If you do, it gains flying until end of turn.
I think this card's pretty mediocre for me.
Yeah, I'm not impressed by this one, to be honest.
See, this card is just the 2-mana version of. There was a card like this in Battle of Zendikar or the Gatewatch. There's like some ally. There's like a 3-mana 3/2 that you could pay 2 and give it flying. And that card was actually quite good. Now that card was a 3/2, which is better than a 2/1 for that ability because that's 3 power as a flyer. But I still like 2-drops that are aggressive early that can get in like. I actually think this card's like around a 3.
It's pretty good with Mentor, I'll give you that.
Round of 3.
But even without mentor, just like as an aggressive deck, right? Where you want a 2-drop that gets in early, and then like later in the game has a mana sink. Like mana sinks are always great in limited, especially in aggressive decks.
Yeah. It is what, just a squire? Is that squire? Is the 2/1 for
Piker.
Piker squires are the yeah.
Squires are 1/2.
1/2, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is just a piker when they can gain flying. It's not the worst. I'm just not excited by it.
Oh yeah, it's not exciting. It's just it's fine, but like that ability is very relevant.
Yeah. I had it at like a 2.5, so I mean we're not too far off.
It's probably somewhere in between, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go like a 2.75 on this. It's definitely not playable, and you're not super excited to pick it.
You know what? I want to be like Aaron. I'm going to upgrade my number to a 2.75. I haven't given anything a 0.75 yet, so.
I'm just gonna go with a straight 2.
Ooh, bringing the average down.
I think there's better common 2-drops that you want in these decks.
Wow, Greedy McGregerson with his judgy 2-drops.
I know.
I don't know. I think that we saw a lot of better 2-drops. And
Mentor and
One
evasion,
toughness-
man. It's pretty
one
good. We
toughness
just said
is
that.
annoying.
Yeah, we're about to see a much better 2-drop.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Yeah, that's what I'm
if
saying,
we're
like, I
talking
don't know
about
how
picky
you can-
2-drops. What about
the next card just outclasses it so much?
Sunholm
Yeah.
Stalwart.
What's an uncommon?
It is an uncommon. It is a human soldier for 1 and a white. It has First Strike and Mentor, and it is a 2/2.
This card's great.
This card's really good. I've got like a 3. I mean, just good stats. Mentor, obviously, with 1/1s, pretty good. You can also upgrade it with your other Mentor cards that are higher up. Cards are solid. Great uncommon.
2 power, 2 mana's First Strikers have always been good.
Oh, yeah.
So this card, I think, Aaron, do you think this card's good and limited?
It's great and limited.
Okay. So I want to talk about it in constructed, because I actually think this card's constructed playable.
Ooh,
Um,
I don't know if I agree.
So this card is a 2-drop that has First Strike, which remember we talked about.
Path to Metal, yeah.
I think it's Path of Metal. Maybe it's Path. I forget. But anyway, that card. First Strike is one of the abilities on there. This card also just happens to work really well with Aurelia because it has Mentor and First Strike. So Aurelia will make this basically the turn Aurelia comes in, it'll make this a 4/2 First Strike Mentor with Vigilance, which is like pretty big game. And it's, just it's another.
Just make this much better.
Yeah, it's another 2-drop in the Path to Metal deck that is quite good. And I think Mentor, with Aurelia to pump this card, and like you have the other the other 1-drop that has Mentor that we're gonna get to later that can pump this into a 3-power guy. Like I think there's multiple ways to pump this guy, and it being a First Striker to help for Path to Metal, I think this card is playable. This card's not a slam dunk in Path to Metal, like by any means. This card's not like Aurelia is a slam dunk in Path of Metal, but like this card is not. But this is a card that is a 2-drop that could see play in that deck because it is looking for 2-drops because the lost cards have.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment. I mean, I feel like if a Path of Metal deck does exist, that this card could reasonably see play, especially if you're going to be playing like 8 to 12 1-drops that are 1/1s of some sort that will boost them up. And they will obviously dodge Path of Metal, but it will also help them get out of range of opposing chain whirlers that could exist.
Definitely.
Yeah, this card's great.
Yeah.
Both limited and constructed. I think that there's some constructed playable reasons to play this card.
Yeah. Numbers? Like anybody got?
I'm at 3.25 in limited, and probably 2.5 in constructed.
Yeah, I can get behind those numbers. I think more of a 3.5 in limited though. Like I think this is like the 2-drop you want in your white decks.
Yeah. Tyler,
yeah,
do you have
2.5
numbers? Are
constructed.
you still here?
He is muted.
Okay, gotcha. We'll get his number later then. All right. So the next card, Sworn Companions. This card looks like that meme where like people are putting their hands in, and it's like they're agreeing with things, and it's like I can't remember any examples, but
It's
everybody's
a 4
seen
in every format ever if it's a meme. So
right. It is 2 and a white for a sorcery. Create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink.
I think this card is not the greatest. I think this could be a limited filler, but I don't think you're too happy. Like, you're gonna play it in your Convoke decks if you need something, but I'm not gonna like pick this highly.
Yep, I had it like a 1.5.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it's just kind of a boring token creator. I mean, it has some implications with that life gain enchantment that we talked about earlier. With the mythic, it has some implications, but outside of that,
I was going to say the mythic.
do what?
Let's go with the mythic.
Yeah.
If you have the mythic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this card's good. It's like if you're like going really hard in Convoke, I could see playing this card. But I agree, I'm not excited to play this card.
Mm-hmm.
it's like Bishop
I have
Soldier
it.
broken up, plus 1 mana. You
It's
know,
what-
Bishop Soldier and previous
Bishop
forms.
No, it's the same mana. They're both 3 mana.
What's the one I'm thinking of? The one in the white, 2 mana.
Oh, like
Or-
raise
I
the
think
alarm?
Raise the-
No. It was a 2 mana, 2 mana 2/2 lifelink creature. So it was on one body. The unicorn from
Oh,
Dominaria.
Yeah, or there was a vampire too.
And then there was a vampire. I think it was Bishop Shoulder was what his name was, but it's obviously way worse than those cards. But those cards are very solid 3s. I'd say this is probably a 2.25, 2.5.
This is like about a 2, maybe a little bit lower.
Yeah, I have like a 1.5 to 2.
I think this will see play more than people expect it to.
That could be true.
Right.
That would not shock me, but I'm not gonna pick this card super highly at first, at least.
So here's Take Heart. Just a single white for an instant, and it's a target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and you gain 1 life for each attacking creature you control. I didn't originally read the for each attacking creature you control. That's probably just due to my poor reading comprehension skills. So this card's a little worse than I thought.
This is what you thought was a fog?
Yeah, I was like, oh, this card's like half a fog. It is not half a fog whatsoever.
Yeah, there's a Boros guy on it. It wants you to attack.
Right. Notably, it's one of the only, 3 combat tricks we've seen so far?
Yeah, there's not a ton of combat tricks. Also, a lot of the, power toughnesses are all, kind of small. So +2/+2 is, pretty relevant.
Yeah.
Especially with Mentor. Again, you can +2/+2 before you attack with your Mentor guy, as a sorcery.
Right.
And then, attack and Mentor on something else.
You don't get the upside of gaining 1 life for each attacking creature if you cast it at sorcery speed, but might not be relevant.
No, but I think you're fine. I think if you can give your 2 power guy +2/+2, so you can mentor onto your 3 power flyer, make it a 4 power flyer.
That's pretty big game.
Yeah. This card, I think you actually are going to take higher than you would normally a +2/+2 for 1. In Boros specifically, I think it's worse in Selesnya.
Right.
But in specifically Boros, this card's probably closer to a 3, and I think in Selesnya it's probably closer to a 2.5.
Let's look at it at the best case or at the worst case scenario. It's just +2/+2 gain 1, right?
Yeah.
Well, the worst case is just +2/+2, right?
Yeah, if you cast it on your opponent's attack step or at a sorcery, I guess that's the actual
or
worst case.
If they try to kill your guy and you protect it, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Which is
I don't
still
know.
fine.
This card is weird.
It's
I
fine.
keep
Just a
dropping,
+2/+2.
so I apologize.
+2/+2s are always fine. This card's fine.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Notably constructed, if there's an aggressive deck that wants to gain life, maybe, but even then, probably not. Some of Johnny's Pride Mate or Johnny's Call or whatever that card is.
Yeah.
Maybe. I still don't think so, though.
No, I don't think so either.
But
It's like
if I'm
unlimited.
yeah.
I have it as 2.5 to 3. I actually think that you should take this higher because there's not a lot of combat tricks, and I think the combat tricks are going to be kind of more premium because all the creatures are kind of small.
Definitely. Any thoughts before we move on to the next card?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm good.
10th District Guard. It is a 1 and a white for a human soldier. It is a 2/2. And when 10th District Guard enters the battlefield, target creature gets +0/+1 until end of turn.
It's a really weird card.
Very weird card.
Yeah, I agree. It's that's such a weird low impact thing for an ETB.
It's still a 2/2.
I get that
for
it helps. It also helps mentor, helps your guys get through. I could see them maybe trying to give it +1/+1 when it entered. Maybe that was too good with mentor cards. But this is one of the lower end 2-drops.
Oh yeah. I had it
I
at
don't
a
like this card.
1.5.
This is like a
Yeah, this card's mostly just a bear.
All right.
Just a one.
I
have
want
it
to throw
too.
out this idea for design for this card. If they would have said, if you control a gate, target creature gets +1/+1, would that have been fine?
Maybe. It would have been still too good.
Yeah, I don't know if it's too good. It's definitely very good, but
I just think that it's a guard. What else is it guarding, right?
right.
No, yeah, this card
Flavor-wise.
would be more flavorful. I agree.
Right.
So, it's just an idea.
It's just a bad card.
Oh yeah.
I'll never rate a 2/2 for 2. I think lower than 2 ever, because I'll never be like, oh, I'm never gonna play a bear. Like, I'll always play a bear.
That's not bears are playable.
There's a lot of times where bears aren't playable. Like bears were really bad in Dominaria because like there's so many 1/3s.
Yeah, I still think bears are fine. They're never unplayable. They're not always good. Sometimes they're bad, but like
In a set like this where there's so many ways to pump up your bears, I feel like bears are going to get a premium.
yeah.
Definitely.
But there is a lot of them. We saw a lot of 2/2s for 2 when you saw a lot of 1/1s, right? Like there's not a lot of high curve stuff except for convoke stuff, right?
So far.
Yeah. We only have one white card left.
Yep, one white card left. It is Venerated Loxodon.
I love this card.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'll let Ian talk about this first because Ian loves this card.
4 and a white creature, elephant cleric, relevant for cleric tribal.
Hell yeah.
It has Convoke. It is a 4/4, and when Veteran Loxodon enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that convoked it. So each creature that you tap to help pay for the convoke cost gets a +1/+1 counter. Card's pretty good.
Yep.
Card's good and limited. I think that having a card like this makes that other card where you get like 2 1/1s for 3 mana like a little bit like if you first pick this card, I think like that card later on in a draft you might take a little bit higher than you normally would
Definitely.
because you just like if you can convoke it, like the dream obviously is to tap 5 creatures for this, right? But like even if you tap like 2 or 3 creatures, it's still like this card's still just like good.
I think this card is nuts. Like I think this is another like bomby card.
I agree. This card's a bomber.
It is so good at making sure that your token strategies get some sort of payoff. The fact that like it as well. Oh no, sorry. So like it gives all of your dudes that convoked it a counter on it, and then I don't know. I just feel like it's just so strong with being able to be potentially a free 4/4 that also just like was an Oath of a Johnny. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like the ability to put a counter on all your creatures is really strong, and it's the potential to be a free card, or even if it's just a 3 mana 4/4 that puts 2+1/+1 counters on something, like that seems really strong. I think that this card is going to be playable in a token or convoke strategy and constructed as well. I think it would be like one of your higher curves, but higher like the top of your curve. But I still think that it's just the convoke mechanic can really you can abuse it pretty easily.
I did something very rare for me. I did some math. Are you guys ready for this?
Okay, let's go.
All right. So I think I did the math right. Is the limited dream to play that common that gives you 2 1/1s on turn 3, then play another one on turn 4, and then tap all of those to play this guy as well on turn 4?
You could do that, yes.
Yeah, is that how math works?
You would have if you played a 2-drop on turn 2, you could maximize your counters. Though.
There you go. I mean, that's the even bigger dream. I didn't want to go to Magical Christmas Land, but I definitely wanted to live a dream.
I mean, if we're going to Magical Christmas Land, we might as well go all out, right?
Yeah, I mean, if we went to Magical Christmas Land, then we have to go the
Your opening hand is 5
1-drops.
No, your opening hand is 5 1-drops, 2 lands, and this is your top card. And you just go turn 1 1-drop, turn 2 1-drop 1-drop, turn 3 1-drop 1-drop, tap all of them for this.
Oh. Now we're talking about
that is
all
the
the
magical
flying by flanks, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the actual like
that's the
dream.
Yeah.
But
so what was mine? Like just a daydream? It's like a cat nap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, medium.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know me. I don't like to think big or anything. I like to try to stay grounded in reality when I can.
Yeah. I think this card's obviously a bomb and limited.
Oh yeah.
This
I
card.
think it's so good and constructed, dude. I don't know.
I'll be interested. I'm not like. I personally don't see it being a big player in constructed, but it's a card that would not like. It would not shock me if this card became like a 2-of in like certain decks. Because it is somewhat comparable to Verder's Girl, and that card was very good.
Yeah, it is comparable to Vertisker Hulk. I think that this is it's different in the sense that this has the option to be a free card.
Yeah, it's different because you have less flexibility with the counters, but it has a cost reducer on it.
I also think it pairs really well with March of the Multitudes, which like if you do that end step and just like make a bunch of dudes and then just like convoke this card, like the combination of those two in a row is just going to be really really busted.
Oh yeah.
Because you just instantly make your dudes, and then you make so that they can't get Chain World. Like that is one of the like I really really like this card because it makes your tokens from like anti-chain willerable.
That's a good point.
That's not really a word, but I'm making it a word.
Hey,
I do like this more than Radiant Destiny, which is a card people have brought up with the like Secure the Waste card.
Sure.
I'm at a 3.5 on this card.
That's where I also had it.
In limited, I kind of think this card's like a bomb. Like I'll take this over. Like I think the line is the enchantment removal spell, the convoke one, and I'll take this over that.
Yeah.
So this is like a 4.
What about the angel, the 6 mana?
Say there's a foil, one of these, and an angel.
If I open a foil, like if I open 2 rares, if I have an angel in this, I'll take the angel in this.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm with you on that one.
I think the angel is a little bit more of a bomb, but this card you need a little bit more of a build around. Like the other one is just automatically good on its own.
Yeah. I've seen no uncommon that I would take over this card yet.
Right. Yep. So any parting thoughts before we wrap up the YouTube video?
I think this one is going to be a 4 in limit, 3.5 in constructed. Just a really great card in general. I think that white looks really good in limited, honestly.
Yeah,
Either Celestia or Boros. They both seem really really powerful.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I think we said we like Boros a lot.
Yeah,
like
Boros looks like a really really good guild to go with.
Mentor just seems really good.
Yeah. Any other parting thoughts about white before we wrap up the video, the YouTube video?
Let's go to blue, the best color.
Okay, so if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for tuning in. There will be more videos for the rest of the colors, so please feel free to hit that subscribe button, and you can check out all the other videos. If you're following on Twitch, there's going to be about a 2-minute break so we can go get water, use the restroom, things like that. And then we'll continue on with blue. And if you're following on Twitch, you should also hit that follow button. If you have Twitch Prime, feel free to give your free subscription to me. There's some cool emotes like WLSAC WoW. We'll be doing more stuff like this with more sets coming out. I'll be streaming this limited format. I'll be streaming the standard format. I'll be testing out the cards in Modern and Legacy when there's lists that come out that excite me. Probably be playing some Canadian Highlander if anybody's into that. So yeah. Sorry?
Said yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna stop the recording here, and I guess that's how you pronounce it. I don't know. Anybody have a better?
I was just trying to get you to say Equinox as many times as possible.
Equinox.
Equinox.
It's probably Equinox.
Like astronaut, but Equa.
Okay, is this a real word?
I have no idea.
Okay, I've never
Probably.
seen this word before, and I used to read a lot of books.
I assume it's like Esquire and astronaut mixed into a word. That's where I'm going. That's what I'm going with.
Esquire or equine, like equestrian.
Anyways, above
Oh
this
yeah,
card,
probably equestrian. All right, yeah, it's an
got
8 and a
convoke.
4/5 with convoke.
which we've gotten into already. It has flying. It's a 4/5 and it costs 7 and a white.
So 8 mana on the surface for a 4/5 flyer. If you have creatures, they can help pay for it.
Yeah. So this card is big. It's 4/5 flyer is big. It's a dragon. Like, it's quite large. If you cast this, it will most likely dominate the board unless there's some like bomb rare or something. I think a good way to look at Convoke is if you are a dedicated Convoke deck. Like, this is for limited. This card's not going to seek playing constructed.
Correct.
Like, this is a pure limited card. If you are like a green-white Selesnya like tokens deck, you're doing Selesnya mechanics, you have Convoke. I think that you can be able to assume you have 3 creatures anytime. So I think in that deck, this card will cost like 5 mana, which is great. Like, very good.